Earth debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, JMels24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
We're talking about how you're hard to since TFE, you've been really suppressed, right? So I Googled your name, and sure enough, one of the got where it was. Anyway, the guy was like, Nathan Oakley, he's the most punchable person. So people want to beat you up.
Oh, thanks, Neil. That's a great welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
It proves that what you're saying is true. And the thing is, I didn't find anything by you. I found stuff with you in it from other content creators.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. What you're saying is YouTube would rather promote somebody saying my name and encouraging physical violence towards me than promote any video actually produced by me. So you can find stuff where people are critiquing me by my opponents, but finding me when you're searching for me is nigh on impossible, is what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean, it'd be nice if I could find a video of you laying it out the way it's laid out here daily. But no, that's very hard to find.
Yeah, occasionally you'll see another videographer have that happen to them with one video and they're up in arms. Rob Hager, there was the most recent one. So he'd done a video on Full Metal Jacket, and for whatever reason, YouTube had decided no. And he moaned about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's my life on a daily basis. I'm not going to moan too much. I mean, Rob Hager's his own man doing his own thing, and he doesn't even monetize his YouTube videos. It's all directed towards him, you know, getting people to download his books and his audio on dissecting movies. That's what his bit is, and a bit like John LeBon, if you're familiar with his model for making money. And I'm not begrudging anybody anything in that regard. That's not really the point. It's just he's moaning because he's not getting the traction on the YouTube videos that he feels are justified for the amount of work he puts in. You're like, yeah, I feel your pain, but you're only suffering that for one or two of your videos. You know what I mean? To mitigate for that, I've had to make thousands of videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got a whole catalog.
Yeah, well, I've had to make it into a daily thing to make YouTube work for me.
By the way, be prepared because there's a big feud, internal feud going on with Measured Earth Flat. Portion believed that you need to go into a little more detail, and you have Refracted on the other side saying no. So there's a battle going on.
That's fine. Good, because it means that it gets discussed, doesn't it? So that's wonderful news. I couldn't be more pleased. Both sides win because we'll be discussing it. So if we're discussing how you need to understand that when you're talking about distances on maps, with miles or measured distances full stop. We're talking about linear distances. Ergo, it can only be flat. It can only be level. It's not curving, etc., etc. If that's warranted, rather than, well, it's miles, therefore flat Earth proven, end of discussion. When Brian says that's not enough, you're like, okay, I can understand that. Huey will often give even less, and it'll have me on his coattails going, you need to expand upon this. Like, well, the Fogomirians can't get it, and it's like, well, I can't get it. Now, if you want to call me a Fogomirian, Miriam, you know what I mean? One who cannot fog one's mirror, then fine. But it doesn't change that I often critique QE with the same thing. So just because I understand this implicitly, and it seems like, well, duh to me, and maybe well, duh to refracted, for Brian, he's like, no, I can understand the tied-up cognition of our audience, and it needs more elaboration, even though it perhaps to you is well, duh. So I'm not gonna race against Brian or refracted. I'll encourage them to fight it out in terms of the consistency that's already there versus the elaboration that is required. Wonderful. Earth's being measured flat in all instances, and how we describe it to the audience, and how implicit we are with these statements of absolute fact. It's nice to elaborate on these things, Neil. Would you not agree?
Yes, I agree.
What a wonderful place
It's
to be.
well done to all of us, but there are people in the audience that need a little assistance.
Okay. I mean, if me saying a mile's flat and you don't have to like it isn't enough, then fair enough. We can elaborate. That's not a problem.
Well, where did we get the measuring system from? What's the origination of that? What was the
Sorry. This. Oh.
was it based off a curve?
Red herring.
No, it was not.
This is what it is. Does it matter?
Well, once you understand how
You
they
didn't
came up
answer
with
me.
the
Does it matter?
concept of measuring.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, it originated in hell with Satan himself.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, they did not come up with a measuring device going around the curve. They came up with the device straight, flat, measurements, level. So,
No, you've asked this. I don't know who they are, nor do I care. The only relevance is the application to Earth. How are miles applied to Earth? Linear, flat. That's how we deal with Earth when we measure it. Now, does anything else matter? Well, it might seem pertinent that we know where it originated, but it would ultimately just be a red herring. Like, oh, what's that smell? Let's chase that. No.
no, you're missing my point. How did we come up with the convention? How did we come up with it? It wasn't taken by going around the ball.
And yeah, that's right. When we came up with the convention, I mean, what were the people eating at the time? What was their diet like? You're saying what they came up with when they came up with it wasn't going around the ball. I mean, yeah, it also wasn't. What else wasn't it? You know, wasn't good for vegetable growing. Non sequitur much.
Well, because they're taking, you even got it in your little displays that go up. You got like a tape measure going around the globe, so that a lot of people are doing things like that and saying, look, I'm measuring it. I'm measuring it around my waist.
Yeah, unlike miles, which are linear. I mean, you either get it or you don't. If you're measuring around an
I guess that's
apple,
all right.
or you're measuring around your waist for some trousers, is that a linear measurement in terms of distance application? Well, the answer would be no. But again, this non sequitur in terms of how you can measure your waist. Are people travelling on my waist? Do they use their tachometer in that way? Now, no. But if you're going to measure the distance on a map, you're going to be measuring it in a linear fashion with miles as the crow flies across the map. Because that's how it's applied. They don't have to like that. That's just how it's applied. Linear. Simple.
As the crow flies is a good term.
Yeah, that's how we utilize maps. So the topography itself, in terms of the measured elevation or depression with respect to a sea level as a horizontal plane of reference to describe increases or decreases of elevation to and from, the map itself is flat. Therefore, as you draw a line across it, it's just a linear mile distance as per the scale on the map. The scale being a straight linear line. It's a line, right? That's what a scale is. It's like suddenly everyone forgets how a bleed map works. It's like, what do you think a mile is? It's a linear measurement. Anyway, fine. There you go, Brian, if you're listening. Gone over it in detail. Rather than going, God, duh. Miles are flat. That's it. End of argument. If you want to use miles, you're going to be using it flat. Don't have to like it. What if I measure my waist? I don't care. Well, I mean, I can drive around your waist if you like. Oh, we don't tend to drive around waist. We tend to be arguing about the earth rather than your fat belly. Yes, your belly's rather round. Meanwhile, if we're travelling a distance, we'll be utilising the linear convention of miles to do so, if we're measuring it. But that would be Earth, wouldn't it? Now, as soon as we've got something that's absolutely unequivocally flat, what, we need to be talking about your fat belly? Yeah, that's called a non sequitur fallacy. Meanwhile, Earth's definitely measured flat, with miles. So getting away from it.
Correct.
Yeah, put some videos out.
Member only?
Put out a shorts video with our call from our good pal McToon. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Measured flat, though,
Turns
right,
out,
Toon?
Hey, Nathan, you lied.
You know Earth's measured
Robert
flat, though, right,
Shortman lied.
Toon?
Yeah, you're a liar, Nathan. You're a liar. You said the sun sets. You lied. Caught you. You're a scum. You lied.
Did you hear what Nathan just said to you? Did you hear what Nathan just said to you?
You lied.
I lied about the sun. That doesn't change how Earth is measured.
You
It's
certainly-
measured flat.
Absolutely 100% lied about the earth. Turn off your mute button there, Nathan, or a life partner, the mute button. Turn it off. We're talking,
You done?
right?
We measure Earth flat,
Stop
Toon.
over talking.
Like with your elevation
You
angles
lied,
in your
Nathan.
challenge.
You're changing the topic.
Maybe if you keep talking
topic, you liar.
indefinitely,
You
maybe you'll win
topic,
this
you liar.
debate. I've waited for you to
I'm
stop.
recording
I
this.
heard you. You called me a liar.
You're
Are you going to
lying,
stop
Nathan.
talking, or is this your mute
You are a
button?
liar.
You done? We
Right?
measure Earth flat,
Stop
Toon.
over talking.
Like with your elevation
You
angles
lied,
in your
Nathan.
challenge.
You're changing the topic.
Maybe if you keep talking
topic, you liar.
indefinitely. I've asked him if he appreciates Earth's measured flat, and now he's rumpusing.
Nathan, stop talking. Stop changing the topic, Nathan.
Earth's measured flat, Toon, like in your challenge. Your elevation angles are flat Earth measurements, Toon.
Gunpoint. Nathan,
Dude.
you said I would get turned away at gunpoint. I did not.
Meanwhile, Toon's challenge
You lied.
utilized a flat
lied, Nathan.
Earth
Nathan,
measurement.
you are changing the topic, Nathan. I am walking around outside in Antarctica right now. All of your gullible idiot followers should be realizing right now that you are an idiot or you are a liar.
Okay, Toon, I accept that you are seeing a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Are we going to have a discussion beyond that, or are you going to perpetually call me a liar so you don't have to listen to anything I say?
I will perpetually call you a liar.
I put it to this man that he measured Earth flat for his challenge. All he can do is claim that I said people would be turned away at gunpoint. See if Toon can listen or just ramble straight through me.
Disgusting piece of garbage.
Seems like he's sharing his pain there. Will you accept the Earth being measured flat with your angle measurements in your 10K challenge there, Toon?
Get off the internet. Stop putting your lies out there. You're running from the topic, Nathan.
I'm running from the 96 times that I put the flat Earth elevation angle measurements in your 10K challenge. Am I running away from those? We'll see if Toon keeps rambling through me or he actually acknowledges the angles
Don't
that
change
were
the
taken.
topic. The
There's
topic
his
is
second
Antarctica.
interjection.
Topic
No worries.
is
What a coward.
Yeah, I didn't hear that for a while. That is pain, boy.
I got another one.
I remember that day.
Were you there, Adam, on that Sunday?
I was, yeah.
Historic.
Every single one of your dumb followers needs to look at their lives and realize Nathan Oakley is a liar. Since 2016, he's been saying if you go to Antarctica, you will be faced with gunpoint and turned away. Where's the guns, Nathan? Where's the guns? I don't see any guns, Nathan! I talked to you about Antarctica. You deflected to measurements. Absolutely 100% lied about the Earth. Turn off your mute button there, Nathan, or a life partner, the mute button. Turn it off. We're talking,
You done?
right?
We measure Earth flat
Stop
too.
over talking.
Like with your elevation
You
angles
lied.
in your
You're
challenge.
changing the topic.
Maybe if you keep talking indefinitely.
Don't change the topic. The topic is Antarctica. The topic is Antarctica. The topic is Antarctica. Antarctica. Run from the topic. Run from the topic. Nathan cannot address the topic of Antarctica.
Put it to this
He's
man
a
that he measured
liar.
Earth flat for his challenge. All he can do is claim that I said people would be turned away at gunpoint. Will you accept the Earth being measured flat with your angle measurements in your 10K challenge there, Toon?
Get off. Gone. That was beautiful. I talked to you about Antarctica. You deflected to measurements. Since 2016, he's been saying if you go to Antarctica, you will be faced with gunpoint and turned away. Where's the guns, Nathan? Where's the guns? I don't see any guns, Nathan! You lied!
Wow, he was having a breakdown.
Wait.
Oh, your first Toyota. Big smile. Perfect.
What a whopper!
Was that the other side of the conversation?
That was as best as I could do it, mashing the two sides of the conversation together. Him rumpusing in Antarctica, screaming my name into the snow, where I'm going, we measured Earth flat. And him going, you're deflecting. You're trying to change the subject. You lied. You said the sun would go down.
He said Antarctica over and over.
I didn't hear that. That's what you call having a breakdown.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, we deal with it on a daily basis, though. When people come into the show, it's no different to McToon being in Antarctica. For them, the stakes are the same. Right? It's their cognition, their worldview at stake. And therefore, the stakes are the same. So when he's having his so-called nervous breakdown, it's just because I'm saying to him, Earth's measured flat. I'm telling him 96 times, 97 times, 98 times, 99 times. You've measured Earth flat with elevation angles. What's he doing? Don't change the subject. You said that there'd be guns here. What on a comment you dug out? So you got this little straw man lined up for when you were on the ice. You got my heavy duty boots, got my heavy duty gloves, got my Antarctic glasses. Yeah, what else do we need? Got my comment from 2014 from Nathan where he said that you'd be stopped by gunpoint if you went to Antarctica. I think I'm all set. I've got everything I need. You know what I mean? So every time I say, okay, I accept what you're saying I'm a liar about the sun. Okay, I accept that. But we measure Earth flat. Don't deflect. Don't talk over me. You're using your mute button. That's what I'm getting from him. You're like,
Well,
okay.
I'll give you credit because a lot of people would have went into explaining, yeah, if you don't announce that you're going, you know, what you did the other day, months later, but a lot of people would have chased that down. You just stood with the measurements.
Yeah, and now I'm trimming him out 6 months later because without me having any reference to that while he's calling me from Antarctica. Am I going to waste an Antarctic phone call with, what? You're suggesting that I said there weren't guns stopping you with all your forms filled out, but you filled out all the forms. If you'd have just gone there, I'm sure I can find you an example where someone's been... Sod that! All right, I'm a liar. We're still measuring Earth flat, though, aren't we, Toon? Don't talk over me! Don't get away from your mute button! Mute button! You're a liar! You're a liar! Your audience should know! Get off the internet! Okay, Toon. But we still measure Earth flat with elevation angles, like in your 10K challenge. You're a liar! You're a liar! You're a liar! He starts having a... like everybody who comes up against us in the show. Now, obviously, after I count off the 10 times they do this to me, like chant through the actual argument whilst telling me that I'm deflecting... Now, I'll count them off in debate. With Toon, I counted him off too, in his comments to me proactively, and we got to 96 by the time he called me in Antarctica. And then I counted him off to 99 while he was calling me, and at the 100th time of being told you measure Earth flat with him deflecting to guns, he hung up on me from Antarctica. But did I chase down his where are the guns? Nah. Everyone else did and called him a lunatic for it, but I didn't. I waited till 6 months later when someone actually got stopped in Antarctica so I can put that up as thumbnails and little lol symbols because he's a lunatic barking about guns, and it's a clear and obvious straw man because he can't bear to hear me say you've measured Earth flat, Toon, over and over again, 96 times by the time he started deflecting to the gun straw man he'd lined up from a comment he dug out from an 8-year-old video I'd commented on. Nah, while he's digging out that 8-year-old comment that I've repeated never, an offhand comment about Antarctica, I might add, he's been told 96 times to that point that he's measured Earth flat. So who's deflecting? It ain't me. I know Earth's flat and I don't give a toss what this dickhead Toon does. Meanwhile, he's literally going bonkers because what's he getting told when he calls me up to proudly tell me he's seen the sun for 24 hours? He gets Earth's measured flat though, innit? And then he starts yelling at me and telling me I'm a liar and telling me my audience should desert me and that I should get off the internet and shut your channel, shut your... That's what he's doing because he's going bonkers. Now I can just put that up, juxtapose it with man stopped in Antarctica by the Chilean government, and then put pictures of armed Chilean government agents with the words immigration to be stopped or something next to it as a complete parody. You're like, yeah, that makes you look like a complete idiot, doesn't it, Toon? Oh, what, you had the forms filled out so you won't stop the gunpoint like this other guy on Antarctica? Well, you seem a bit stupid and bonkers now, don't you? Why were you going on about this again? What were you being told at the time? No, I wasn't chasing it down. I was telling him Earth's measured flat, wasn't I? So that's now what gets pointed out. Now the straw man's been absolutely annihilated to the point that Toon looks like a raving lunatic. And his lunacy that he deflected with is highlighted by someone literally being escorted off Antarctica at gunpoint because they didn't have the forms filled out to go and measure it flat. So we're back on the track of an actual discussion about whether or not Earth's flat, and they're measuring it flat. That's what he got told over and over again. So the gun deflection didn't work, did it, Neil? I stayed right on topic and said, do you want to just chill out for a second? Are you done talking? So Earth gets measured flat. Don't talk over me! That's what he did. I waited, asked,
yeah, a lot of people
done?
would chase him.
I said, are you done? There's a pause. I said, we're measuring Earth flat. He says, don't talk over me. Don't use your mute button. Literal projection in real time as he talks over me and uses his mute button to stop what I'm saying coming through to his lug holes. Earth's measured flat for the 96th time. Earth's measured flat. You measured it flat for the 97th time. Earth's measured flat with your 10K challenge for the 98th time. Earth's measured flat in Antarctica with elevation angle measurements for the 99th time. He doesn't want to hear it. He wants to tell my audience when he phones me up proactively that I'm a liar. Because I said the sun would set in Antarctica. Well, he didn't find that quote. He'd have found me tracking the sun on a flat Earth live. But he didn't want that. He wanted to straw man me with where are the guns, and now he just looks like a raving lunatic.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing now. Telling your audience, I had the Buck Sodbuster guy telling me, listen, you're wasting your time, spend time with your family, you're wasting your time on flat earth debate. I mean, why are they concerned about my time? I don't care what he does. Seems like Toon is, they're all doing the same thing, trying to deter us away.
The
And you stood
desperation.
right on focus, and that's why he got upset, because you did not chase down the guns.
Yeah. What he wants is me chasing down his assertions that I'm a liar, his personal attacks, his ad hominem fallacies. When I say Earth's measured flat, though, it's not me entering into a debate, it's me telling him. Is it me asking him? Are you measuring Earth flat with this diagrammatical example of an Earth that's measured flat with an elevation angle that they absolutely measured there? I didn't ask him that question, did I? I told him. Doesn't change that Earth's measured flat, though, does it? No, because it is. They are. He did. I've told him repeatedly. So who cares? Meanwhile, they're going to go nuts. Because what do they need to do to prove that Earth's a ball? Well, they need to measure Earth flat. And then anybody who points that out gets labelled as a disingenuous liar, scumbag. Where are the guns? When they're asking if they understand and appreciate that they've measured Earth flat with elevation angle measurements in Antarctica and in their 10K challenge.
I'm starting to see what Brian's talking about now. The moment of their triumph, he was melting down. Something strange.
In your neighbourhood.
Yeah, the way you said it, I'm standing in Antarctica right now.
Yeah, because
I
that's
don't know.
enough.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, you've got to understand, for his numpty audience, him simply being there, looking at the sun, is enough. Well, you're seeing the sun for 24 hours. Well, that's it then, I guess. You said that means we win. Win what? Well, the argument. What argument? Well, the argument about what Earth is. Oh, well, let's have a look at how it gets measured. It gets measured. Don't talk through me! Where's your mute button? Well, you're measuring it flat. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. That's not a disputable subject matter change or a segue away from what we're doing in Antarctica. Aren't we trying to establish what Earth is? Well, if you're trying to do that, we'll go with your measurements then. They're flat. You don't like that. You don't want to discuss them. You don't want to discuss the angles to the sun over a 24-hour period with respect to a plane of reference because it's a flat Earth measurement. Okay. Well, why are you calling me? You want to call me and tell my audience that I'm a liar because I said the sun would go down in Antarctica? I didn't know. I had no idea. I got told that it would go down because somebody who had been there gave their first-hand testimony to that effect. I mean, I got tarred like I'd said it because they're disingenuous scumbag liars and they want to tar me with the brush of their egregious misrepresentation of what actually occurred when I interviewed somebody who'd spent time in Antarctica. They spent Antarctica time and therefore they're right to their audience. So them saying to me, oh, I'm in Antarctica right now. Okay, I accept that, was my reply. I accept you've seen the sun for 24 hours, but you're measuring Earth flat. Don't use your mute button is the response. Where are the guns, Nathan, is the response. He deflected with measurements of Earth that's flat that you're measuring right now. Yeah, I did. Because Earth's measured flat. It's not me asking, it's not me requesting approval. It's just me stating a fact. I don't care if you like it. I'm like I say, chasing down Toon, going, you do understand that it's flat, Toon, you don't... No, I'm not doing that, I don't care. Just Toon recognise it. Oh, he thinks it's a ball. Oh, good for him. Does he understand how Earth got measured flat for that ball? I tried to tell him. He just told me that I was a disingenuous liar and that I'd said that the sun would go down and that the fact he was in Antarctica seeing that it hadn't. He didn't draw any conclusions. I asked him repeatedly if he understood that he had measured Earth flat with his angles in his 10K challenge. And, like I say, he yammered through me and rumpused. Oh, okay. How's that any different to any other day other than the man doing it being so desperate to tell me that he's right about seeing the sun for 24 hours and measuring it flat? Well, he couldn't bear to hear the second part. Didn't want to hear it, did he? Literally. Couldn't bear to hear it. And it sent him nuts. He eventually hung up rather than hear it and then told his audience, that's to say the man who's filming him going nuts, Dave McKeegan in this instance, and his camera, later to be published on McToon's channel, that he tried to deflect with measurements. Okay? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Oh, I'll not do that next time. Next time you call Toon, I won't deflect to measurements of Earth that are flat that you've made. Sorry. My bad. Take it all back. I won't point out your flat Earth measurements next time. Lest I be called the deflector. I wouldn't want to be thought as a deflector now, would I? What with my deflecting to the measurements of Earth? Hell no. Heaven forbid. Would you have chased the guns down, Neil?
No, of course not. But other people would have, because they would have tried to defend themselves and say, yeah, if you didn't have, paperwork, you would be turned away.
That's the thing. You're better off not defending your own virtue in this regard. You're better off leaving it to others to defend your virtue on your behalf. And in this case, 6 months later, Adam comes along and does it on my behalf. Much more effective. Right? Why? Because I can't say I don't care that he's lying through his back teeth about a misrepresentation on a comment about Antarctica that he dug out from 8 years ago. It's only so he can distract from the flat Earth measurements. I don't need to do that. Just say nothing. And then Adam comes along 6 months ago and says, oh, do you know you were a straw man with these guns? Vaguely remember a song being made about it with my name in the freaking title. Yeah, I vaguely remember, Adam. What say you? Oh, right, they found a guy on Antarctica without permission and escorted him away at gunpoint. Made headline news, did it? How terribly exciting. Meanwhile, Adam, Snickers, Earth still measured flat. Yeah, that's what I pointed out to McToon. I'll go and dig out me telling him when he called me, and his reaction going absolutely batshit insane and yelling my name into the snow because I wouldn't accept his straw man about guns. What with them filling out all the forms and that. But filling out the forms isn't really my point. Them not being stopped by men with guns is not really anything to do with the argument about how Earth's measured. And they measured Earth there, didn't they, Neil? How did they measure Earth? Was it with elevation angles to the sun? With respect to a flat plane? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So they measured Earth flat. I'll just take that bit. They called it an experiment. So I assume these flat Earth measurements of angles with respect to a plane have got more validity because these tosspots who don't know what science is called these flat Earth measurements experiments and said that they were final. I mean, these idiots that labelled it with finality when they measured Earth flat are still doing the final Lone Rangers extra experimental non-finalness, but that's fine by me because they still measured Earth flat and called it experiments regardless of whether or not they were experiments. They did definitely measure Earth flat. I tried to point it out to Toon. He just was concerned with one man, his audience, that's him. He's a super fan. He watches all my shows. And whether or not they understood that he was in Antarctica. Well, they're not his audience, but it's kind of self-indulgent of him. Once he'd pointed that out, I accepted it wholeheartedly and then asked if he understood he'd measured Earth flat repeatedly and just got told that I was a liar over and over again, like a stuck record going bonkers into the Antarctic snow, yelling my name about guns. So there's a full summary of the circumstances that befall us 6 months later. We're still pointing out Earth's getting measured flat in all respects, in all regards, without exception. And that's about all we need to be doing. The censorship level is absolutely off the scale as a result of us pointing out that in all instances, without exception, Earth is getting measured flat. And even when they attempt to go and prove that Earth isn't flat, in a very expensive trip to Antarctica, they still called up little old me, the one who's getting censored heavily on YouTube, to tell him that they saw a sun, and then I told them that they were measuring Earth flat with it. So nothing changed, in spite of them spending hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That line of questioning, would I have chased the guns? I think I answered that question in the beginning of this video, because I say to him, did you hear what Nathan just asked you?
Yeah, and he can't answer you, can he? He just calls me a liar again. And then when I bring it up for the third time, he tells me I've used my mute button that I'm married to. And then when I bring it up a fourth time, he's full-on rumpusing through the top of me, telling me not to interrupt him. And when I tell him for the fifth time, he's telling me that my audience should be shut your channel, shut your, and get off the internet. That's the order of events. And all I'm trying to do is repeatedly ask him, you understand you measured Earth flat with your angles, right? Yeah, you ain't having it, right? Where are the guns? Oh, we found them. Check out that Chilean government guy with his gun. You dickhead. Meanwhile, did you want to accept that there are guns escorting people off Antarctica now? What with you filling out forms to measure Earth flat there? Because it seemed like Toon didn't really want to acknowledge me pointing out Earth being measured flat there bit, and just wanted to focus on whether or not it gets stopped having filled out all the forms, which seems kind of non sequitur. But there we go, we found the guns. What about the flat Earth measurements? Yeah, they're still the same ones. Exactly the same, nothing's changed. Earth was still measured flat. It was going to be, it always will be. So, who cares? Best keep me in the smallest part of the internet. Make sure I'm struggling to pay my mortgage. I'm sure these dickheads who don't sleep and go nuts when they're saying my name are doing all right. They're probably paying their mortgages quite easily. Because they get all the views I don't. All of the views that would go my direction get funneled their way. Doesn't help them sleep at night, doesn't stop them calling me and contacting me and staying in my chat with fake names. Does it? But there they are, with their fake names, the pathetic cowards that they are. Listening to me and hoping that I die. Because that's what they've got, wishful thinking. It won't change Earth being measured flat. Your disdain and disgust and hatred towards me will not change what Earth is. Doesn't matter that I'm saying it. Focusing your attention on an individual is pathetic. Doesn't change what Earth is or how it's measured. By you! Globe-believing idiots. Including
Yeah, they just want to punch you, Nathan.
Go ahead.
They just want to punch you.
Yeah, because like that'll change how Earth gets measured flat with elevation angles if I'm not pointing it out. Or I'm not here. No, it won't. People are pathetic.
You know, the truth hurts. There's a lot to that statement that the truth hurts.
Morning.
Good morning. Hello, Discord, you enthusiastic bunch.
Good evening.
Hello.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. Are you all excited? We're creeping ever closer to the book release. And I know it's my book, and therefore, obviously, I'm going to be excited about it. But I can't think of something that I've done in the 10 years of doing flat earthing that people have asked me about so much. You know, there's not a single day that goes by that someone asks me, is the book out yet? Is it out yet? How long till the book's out? You know, I get asked multiple times a day, and it just fills me with such joy because the anticipation is going to be worthwhile. You know, when it finally gets released, people will be like, yeah, this was worth the wait. This is fantastic. I do want to buy this for my friend, family member, co-worker that's been annoyingly, let's say, detrimental to my mental health when they talk about this subject. Let's just keep it as friendly as we possibly can when we talk about our friends and loved ones and co-workers when it comes to flat earthing. So yeah, it's going to be worthwhile. But are you all excited for its release?
I'm real excited, although I've heard some pre-reviews that it's the worst book ever.
It's not out yet. You've had some pre-reviews, like before it's written.
Oh yes, it's the worst book ever. I think in the next couple of months it's just going to be a massive. Don't read it. Don't say 90.
Don't say 90. Well, I'm extremely excited, and you know, time's ticking on by. There's going to be more and more people looking at as we get closer to the actual publication date, which will get set in the very near future. One more time that we're going to have a full read through with various different eyes on it. It goes off to the publicist, who does exactly the same thing. He has his read through. Then that's it. It's published. It's really, really close. I can't wait. Probably, I reckon, end of summer it's going to be published. Then it's there. It was formerly called Housekeeping. Then it was called All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. Now it's called Welcome to Flat Earth. So it's had various different titles, and it's had more rewrites and redrafts than perhaps the number of titles that it's had. You know, I think I suggested this was the fourth rewrite. Well, it's probably more than that. But nevertheless, it's had a lot of work, which is good. You know, it's had a lot of attention, which is also good. The references and citations are outstanding. The quality is like high, not only high, but heavily scrutinized in terms of what is and isn't appropriate to be cited, to be discussed in the first place. Like, it's all been scrutinized. Huge chunks of work have been dumped huge chunks of work have been refined. So it's like I say, it's still for the time being, it's a work in progress. There's still little bits to be done. There'll be things that are altered moving forward. I think we're on chapter 11 of 14 currently, so very close to the end in terms of the fourth draft. And there might be call for suggesting that it's a fifth draft, but I don't think so. I think the fourth draft will be gone over with a fine-tooth comb again in full, and that will be what goes off to the publicist. So yeah, it's really, really close for everybody asking, which is many, many, many people. It's like, I can't believe how many people are going to be there waiting for it to come out and immediately purchasing it. There'll be a massive spike in terms of its immediate sales from people who are waiting with bated breath to get hold of it. So yeah, but there's obviously stuff to do. There's going to be a translation into Spanish at the minimum when it comes out. Hopefully that'll be done as well. I want that all done at the same time, so it's at least released in some form bilingually and with an audio version, all at the same time. So it's hopefully going to be, recognised that if we've spent this much time, it can be pondered upon a little longer in terms of getting the translated versions together. Not necessarily the Spanish audiobook version, but I'm getting at. It'll be released with a aplomb. It'll be released with multiple versions, as it should be. I want it to be a big event. I want it to be a big deal when it finally drops. It's worthy of that. There's enough people waiting in high anticipation of it that it should have a bit of fanfare when it finally drops. Would you not agree? Yes, no.
Yeah, I think
Yes, Nathan, we all agree.
Jolly good. I'll get the party poppers then. You get the sangria.
Sorry, I'm trying to get our translator in. You're going to have to invite him in, Nathan. I don't know how to do it. It's MW.
He's in there now. We'll figure it out with him. He's a regular.
So he's not in, he's not getting a link to join.
Yeah, we'll figure it out in the next couple of days before the next book editing session, which is on Monday. We'll get. I'm going to keep ballsing up his name. Ventriloquorum. If I can say it right. We'll get it in. We'll get you in. Don't worry.
Roger.
No, Nathan. Affirmative. Indeedy.
Nathan Rogers.
No. So we're coming up to the end of the week. Thursday's the new Friday, as they say. Did we want to do a bit of housekeeping? Is there any videos to cover? Is this going to be an idle chit-chat for an hour? What is
Let's
to
do
follow?
some
I
housekeeping.
have no idea.
We haven't done housekeeping in days.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
But it is Earth curve.
What's Earth curve?
The horizon. I told you the other day, Nathan. Boats go over the horizon.
No, boats go over an orthographic view marked with an X labelled horizon, and it's a drop from surface level calculable with a parallel eye level. Ergo, Earth must be measured flat and retain its flatness for a parallel eye level to be parallel to derive orthographic mathematics that suggests that the distance to the geometric horizon is 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's Earth curve mass that you're inferring. It requires Earth to be measured flat. Like all Earth measurements, always even Earth curve measurements, they're not, they're calculations. The measurements are of a flat Earth. Surface level, height off surface level, and sea level, all incorporated into Earth curve maths. You need a flat plane of reference. A sphere that's inferred in orthographic view will not give you one, but the Earth that is measured for your height above it and your parallel eye level will. You're measuring it. Flat. Earth, that is. It's flat. Earth, that is. That's how you measure it. Even if you
I
want
don't
to
care what you
suggest
say,
Earth.
Nathan. When I go higher, if I increase the elevation, I could see that boat.
Okay.
Okay.
So the measurement is your elevation then. So your elevation is a height above surface level. Sea level, if you want to measure it with reference to the horizontal plane that ties to Earth. So you're measuring your height off sea level. That's a horizontal plane of reference perpendicular to it in a vertical orientation, measured in feet. That's a flat Earth measurement, Neil. Your height. Elevation.
So you mean to tell me I can't be on one point on a sphere and go up, let's say, 1,000 feet? And that's not off a level surface. That's off of a sphere.
No, perpendicular, 90 degrees. Up, you say. You're going to have some axiomatic principle to describe this. And it won't be afforded to you if you are begging the question of being on a spherical surface. There is no perpendicular. There's nothing horizontal about a sphere to be perpendicular to 90 degrees. Yeah? A single
Well,
point
if I
won't
go
give
to
you
the
that.
center of that,
Not in the centre of a ball. I mean, mathematically, that's where the systems that are in place to describe the angle measurements off a flat Earth to the stars can be represented from within a ball, like the globe that's projected out from the surface we measure flat with these angles to stars is a glorified projector. Now, some people think that they're standing on the surface of this globe Earth. I'm accurately describing as a glorified protractor, with you standing on a flat plane with the globe wrapped around you, because that is the equatorial plane that is utilised to describe the mathematical derivation that creates the ball for people to fantasize about standing on it. But we're not standing in it, and that's how the angle measurements that we utilise for navigation and mapping work. Heliocentrism as an offshoot comes from these flat Earth measurements. Make no mistake, Earth is measured flat.
Hey guys.
One deck. Hello.
Yeah, you all right?
Very well.
The other thing is, like, a lot of these this heliocentric nonsense. A lot of them use talking about the horizon. It's an observation, the horizon, and the horizon has never ever been defined as a physical location set for in the heliocentric model. It's just it's an apparent location which can alter, and there's proof out there on the table, Black Swan 2020, that the horizon that they claim is a physical edge of the globe is at a certain distance, 1.22 times the observer's height in feet. But there's video and photographic evidence which shows the horizon beyond that distance, which debunks their, globe heliocentric model to bits. It's been proven. So it's not a physical location. It does move around depending on conditions. And we've got photographic and video evidence to show them this. It's over.
Yeah, so what one deck is alluding to is the argument known as the Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon measured could be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in the Begging the Question, Proof of Nothing, Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve Maths in Orthographic View. Distance to the horizon measured in the Black Swan is beyond the oil rigs at 10 miles, rather than 1.2 miles at a 1-foot observer height. Ergo, it's not a physical geometric mark with an X labelled horizon, orthographic representation of a geometric sphere edge blocking your view of boats and buildings, as laid down in the Begging the Question, Proof of Nothing Perspective, Hijacking Earth Curve Mathematics, because it's beyond those geometric limitations, as demonstrated in the image fondly known as the Black Swan. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere, and the horizon is not physical. Refraction, you hear them cry. Yes, so not a physical measurable sphere edge horizon then, you complete numpties. Now, given that it's been 5 years, the idiots that undo their own geometric assertions of a sphere edge for a horizon by barking refraction at us 5 years after their own annihilation with their own words of refraction, beggars belief, in my humble opinion. The level of stupidity on our anti-flat Earth opponent's side is literally off the scale. Stupid levels that you can't really comprehend even if they're explained to you. Okay, so while you bash your own heads in with the fact we don't have a geometric sphere edge for a horizon, so not Earth curve then, not blocking boats with its physical nature, refracted by your own standards, not capable of measurement for a geometry at all then, never to be measured, you idiots. Meanwhile, and I reverse time to when I should have interjected, but didn't want to be rude to One Deck when he asserted this in the first instance. Because, as One Deck pointed out, 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height of a flat Earth. The first measurement in this series of nonsensical orthographic-based mathematics that suggests we have an Earth curve below the surface level we will measure for our height. At which point there is no argument or inference that we can violate the base principle measurement we are measuring for our height. And should you suggest that that point we measure from is a tolerable single point with respect to a curve, you won't have a parallel eye level to move forward with your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve maths, debunked by the Black Swan in physical terms. Not that it was required, Earth was being measured flat the whole time, to have this stupid inference of Earth curve below the surface level we're measuring. It's utterly absurd, and in 2025 we have no need to debunk the inference, after measuring Earth flat, that we've got a physical geometric horizon. What's that? Refracted? Well, where's your maths for a refracted, non-geometric, non-physical, not blocking boats and buildings horizon? Oh, well, that will also come with a heavy dose of measuring Earth flat with linear miles and heights off surface levels and parallel eye levels for a geometry that requires Earth be measured flat in all instances and without exception. So we're a bit beyond the Black Swan, but thank you for bringing it up, One Deck. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, you're going to need a globe for that. And then when you look at the Earth calculator and how the globe was measured, it's telling you it's a flat Earth elevation angle measurement. So we haven't got a globe for any axial rotation anyway, because we haven't got a globe.
Yeah, it's not actually correct there.
There's no evidence of a globe.
Axial rotation requires a plane of reference to describe it. The axis would go through the centre, but the plane would be the reference plane used. When they describe inertial and non-inertial planes of reference in terms of its rotational values for not actual deflection in Coriolis effect, those are flat. An axis of rotation requires a flat plane to describe the rotation itself. So you said it needed a globe? That's incorrect. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
I mean, that's just like saying, can you obtain an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
Is there any evidence
gas law
you can
requires containment?
Say again, sorry, Adam.
I said all gas law requires containment.
What, like the V in PV equals nRT? The volume
V
of the
what?
container.
Yeah, the gas particle has to press up on the wall of the container to obtain pressure. If there was no container, the gas particle would just keep wandering about until it finally hit the container to generate some pressure. So you do need a container. It's gas law, and that's, it's a law of nature.
Shout out to Meme Cannon. Says, keep smacking these fools. Hopefully you're doing well. I am doing well. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Meme Cannon. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, One Deck?
No, I think it's a bit of an antecedent situation like gas pressure, because you will require a horizontal baseline for the elevation angle. They go hand in hand. So it's a stupid question, really.
Yeah, in the pre-show we were talking about 6 months ago when, I was privileged enough, pausing to carefully phrase this, I was privileged enough to receive a phone call from a man in real time measuring flat Earth elevation angles to an Antarctic sun for a 24-hour period. Now, obviously, it was quite painful as a non-flat Earth believer to have it pointed out that your measurements are all utilising a flat plane of reference for angles. So therefore, it was the case that a deflection to the guns that recently escorted a man who landed in Antarctica away, and given that he didn't have the documents, that made headline news. The Chilean government escorting him off Antarctica at gunpoint. Nevertheless, Earth got measured flat regardless of me not chasing that straw man red herring down for 6 months, because it's non sequitur to the way that we actually measure Earth. Flat, with elevation angle measurements to the sun for 24 hours as a single example. There are many more. Now, that might be painful to hear if you thought that the Antarctic expedition was in any way affirming a ball by debunking an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection and juxtaposing it with a globe model that's non-existent and never presented, when utilising claimed to be experiments actually flat Earth elevation angle measurements.
Some globers and anti-flat earthers, when this is this evidence is put to them, will admit, we know it requires a flat horizontal baseline, but if you're doing it locally, you can just use a small area of flatness to measure an elevation angle.
Yeah, we can measure a small area of Earth flat. You can measure no area of Earth a ball because it isn't one, but we do measure Earth flat. How lovely that they can minimise it. We could expand out these measurements and point out to them that you've got 5,400 nautical mile measurements capable if you're using a celestial navigation measurement methodology and an angle to a star at its minimum. But why bother? Locally flat, you say? So we are, you agree, measuring Earth flat. Locally, I don't care what you call local. We're measuring Earth flat. And them telling us that it's just locally measured flat, yeah, you drop the mitigation word, the just, and focus on the measured flat bit. Again, the mitigation word of locally. What's that mean? Well, it's not really relevant. We're measuring Earth flat and they all know it. Are you in two places, Mark? In Discord and G+ at the same time, Mark. Hopefully we don't get a load of echo from you.
What's in?
Let's carry on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Don't all go at once.
What would be the purpose of knowing the distance to the sun? Practical terms, anyway.
Did anybody catch that?
No.
What would be the purpose of learning or knowing, measuring the distance to the sun in the first place? What practical purpose would it be?
Good question. I don't know. I don't have one. I can't think of a practical application for it. There is obviously practical applications for the distance to the GP of the sun at any given time, and we have note of these and have had for some time. It's useful, very useful for navigation. But in terms of the distance to the sun itself, as asserted in heliocentric cosmology and assertions by Huygens and Kepler and various other characters in the journey of heliocentric beginnings, there isn't really one. I can't think of any of them. Any purpose? Anybody know what use the distance to the sun would be, even if we had it accurately measured, which we do not?
No, it's pointless, really, even to think about that, especially when you're talking about the shape of the Earth, because the sun in the sky has got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, even though a group of people thought it did when they went to, apparently, Antarctica to measure elevation angles from a flat baseline to that light in the sky for 24 hours. Oh, no. It's got nothing to do with actual Earth measurement. But you can use the light in the sky to obtain an elevation angle to pinpoint your position on Earth when navigating, trying to find your position. So it can be useful, but the distance to it there's no resemblance to anything.
Exactly. GP distance, very handy. Go ahead, Surf Daddy.
One of the counter arguments is typically, well, if the Earth is flat, then you should be able to find the distance, altitude of the sun. Since you can't do that, then the Earth isn't flat.
Yeah, I gotcha. Non sequitur. Me being able to give a distance to the sun because they assert that it's 93 million miles away after scaling it with Venus, utilising a flat Earth elevation angle to Polaris at its minimum for a radial value of an equator value that gets made to be spherical when measured flat and then imposed on Venus. So you can scale Kepler's heliocentric motion and give you a 93 million mile sun. That's their story for their sun that, like all measurements of Earth, originates with a flat Earth elevation angle measurement of Polaris and its minimum. So we've got flat Earth being measured to create a system that gives them their heliocentric distance to the sun. And then I'm asked whether or not I can measure it with an angle. No, I can't. The sun doesn't behave in a conducive manner for making those measurements. Does it change that we do measure it with angles to acquire GP distance? Yeah, we do. It's very useful for navigating. It's applied practically. Obviously, we need a flat Earth to do so, and we definitely do so. Therefore, Earth is flat as we do so. Measure it flat, that is. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, when you say scientific evidence, I think you'd want to be observing a natural occurring phenomena. So what would that be, would you say, for gravity?
They say 110 years ago that objects falling because of a force pulling stuff go down, go boom boom, go splash splash. The Newtonian, old and busted gravitational force. Debunked by gas and its behaviour expanding in all directions, regardless of its claim to have mass, whatever that is, in their vernacular. Meanwhile, it doesn't attract to Earth, despite its vastly larger mass than all gas particles that are individual, unbonded, and moving in all directions without any attractive force whatsoever. Quite the contrary. Should a gas particle encounter a wall of a container or another gas particle or anything to collide with, it will have an elastic collision and opposite reaction in the other direction. Its vector will change, it will not be attracted. That's elastic collision as opposed to gravitational attraction, undermining the base premise of this force pulling things towards the ground. No, gas fundamentally debunks such a notion, as does the new hotness of a fourth-dimensional, pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time invented by a man named Einstein. Obviously, the conceptual realm of bent fourth-dimensional space-time, invented by a man named Einstein, has no bearing whatsoever on our physical encountering of three dimensions that are real, nor does it create any force, or is considered one by modern scientists, if you can call them such. I hope that's a summary good enough to explain that there is no natural phenomena to observe in a pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time or a non-existent downward force debunked by gas expansion.
Well, what falling is there on a sphere?
One more
Such
time.
concept.
One more time.
There is no concept of falling on a sphere. Such concepts don't exist.
Well, there's inning. They have inning, don't they? Like the notion of moving towards the centre of a sphere Earth. Isn't that what they call the non-concept they can't use of falling perpendicular in a vertical orientation with respect to a plane, 90 degrees at the surface that you'll meet an impact if you are falling? Because they would have inning, wouldn't they?
But that's not falling.
and it's not used. I've never heard anybody say, well, on a ball, I'm inning, you know, I'm moving towards the centre of it.
On another note on that, well, just I was talking to someone. There's a few people. I was talking to a normal person, I'll call them, about this subject, and there's a lot of people under the. Well, for one, I was trying to explain that the gas we breathe, the gas particles are created at ground level. They're not being dragged down from a gas factory in the sky. And the person was having a bit of a hard time trying to understand that. And then I was talking about the gas pressure requiring containment, and they was under the impression that the atmosphere is the container. So I was trying to unravel all this for this person who's not into this subject, and they was really scratching their head and just couldn't come to terms with what I was saying, even though I was trying to explain it really carefully. I think you find that with a lot of normal Joes, I call them. They just, the atmosphere is the container. Gas is gravity, Newtonian gravity, which has been outdated, is pulling gas down to the Earth when gas particles are created at ground level and going up. So where's the gravity then? Then it's non-existent. And the gravity is, what they call atmosphere is the gas pressure, not the container. So there's a bit of confusion with some people who are not really into the subjects of what is actually going on.
Yeah, pressure is the force exerted on the walls of the container for the gas to exert or exhibit gas pressure. It needs containment. Meanwhile, gas is not going down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash. If you don't believe us, just crick your head slightly and look up at the clouds. That's the effects of gas in the form of the water cycle. Moving up, away from the ground. Not down, not go boom, boom, not go splash, splash. There is no force of gravity. It's superseded 110 years ago by Einstein, as I explained earlier. Bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time is not the force of gravity, go down, go boom, boom, either. Gas isn't doing that. Look at a cloud. In order to have that effect in the first place, that is to say gas cycle, you would need gas to be at high pressure, and therefore you must have containment for that to be the case. If the sky was a vacuum, as is asserted in the heliocentric nonsensical world of taking flat Earth measurements and making them ball-shaped, you'd have a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum right next to the high-pressure gas we're all breathing. It's not going down, go boom, boom. It's not being held here as atmosphere. That's an oxymoron. Atmo, that means air. Sphere, that's a shape. Gases take the shape of whatever containment they're in. They don't arbitrarily form spheres. They disperse into whatever available volume. Now, if the sky is a vacuum, it's a vast volume available to the gas at high pressure to fill. Ergo, we'd have never developed gas pressure if the sky was a vacuum. The very first gas particle would have come out of the ground, sodded off into sky vacuum, and never returned, because it would carry on in whatever vector it was travelling in until it collided with something. Now, if it never collides with the wall of a container to come back down to Earth to form pressure, then we never achieve gas pressure. But that's the world they want you to believe in when they take flat Earth measurements of angles and project them from a hell with a protractor wrapped around it called the globe that you can then reify into an existence where you're standing on a curved surface that you measure the stars with, and then suggest that there's a sky vacuum above your head 10 to the minus 17 torr with the orbital motion again derived from flat Earth measurements of the stars, of things like the ISS with men in tin cans flying like Superman. You can believe that religious worldview nonsense that's given to you by your government, derived from church rhetoric. That's where your government comes from. You can believe that if you want. Good for you. You know better than a Scientologist, because that's what they believe too. It's the same religion. They've got Xenu in a sky vacuum, and you don't. But other than that, it's the same religion. Now, you've also got Xenu. You just don't call him Xenu no more. Statistically, you've got little green men if you're a baller. What's the difference? Xenu, little green men, the likelihood of life out in the sky, where all the soil is. All the soil up there in the sky with all the men standing on the soil in the sky. The soil's on the ground. You bunch of lunatics, heliocentrists, bunch of lunatics, Scientologists. You've got the same exact system and worldview. You think the soil in the sky. You think the moon's a rock and that Mars could have vegetables growing on it. You think there's little green men. You're all part of the same stupid religion, derived from flat Earth measurements of angles to the stars.
How do you know there's not soil in the sky? Have you been there? With this can't have gas pressure without containment, when none of us have gone any further than a plane ride, right?
Okay.
So
I mean,
things could be
Soil,
different in outer
well,
space.
the soil's on the ground, Neil.
outer
I'm
space.
absolutely confident of my assertion that the soil is the ground and the sky is the lack of anything. Now, there is gas in the sky, and it's capable of moving around in that emptiness to fill it with the gas pressure that we're all breathing and have cyclical gas cycles like the sky vacuum voiding clouds that we can all see. So I can unequivocally suggest that that empty area does have stuff happening in it with gas, but it's not soil. Now, if you're telling me that a little twinkling light that's orange is soil, I don't believe you. That's your burden to prove. Now, I'm not saying it isn't. It seems ludicrous given that I know what soil is and it's on the ground. Based on
You
relative
have to
density,
prove-
I don't see how soil can be in the sky. It would fall from the sky to the ground based on its increased density versus the sky. But if you want to suggest that it is, that's your burden to prove. Meanwhile, I know the ground is definitely soil. And I know that Scientology say otherwise, and so does heliocentrism.
Not going to give me a chance, right? You're just going to keep saying with the same rhetoric. You know, Putin's right. You're deflecting. Well, how do we know? All I'm saying is it is possible that things react differently the further you go up.
No.
Have any of us been there? Have any of us been higher than a plane?
I don't care. If you want to suggest that there's soil in the sky, you better damn well prove it. Now, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not making any claims in that regard. I'm saying that by my experience, the soil's on the ground, not in the sky. That's it. That's my experience. Now, if you want to tell me otherwise, prove it. I'm not saying the sky isn't soil. To me, it seems utterly absurd to have a requirement to suggest that it isn't soil when the soil's beneath my feet. But because there's a religion that believes there's little green men in the sky called Xenu, unless you're not a Scientologist, I mean, you've got the same religion of a sky vacuum filled with rocks that you can grow soil on. Little orange ones called Mars, you think that's a soily based sky rock for growing stuff on and living on. Now, you can believe that, like the Scientologists believe the exact same thing. But it makes you all nuts in my mind, because the way you've come to that conclusion is by measuring Earth flat. The way you've come to the motion of these lights is by measuring Earth flat. And the way you apply it to any practical version of the sky or ground we use, well, that's flat. So definitely ain't a spherical ground, us moving around the sun, like orbital motion and Copernicus systems in both Scientology and heliocentrism. They're the same system. Exactly the same. But that's just not the world we live in. It's just some stupid religion everyone's got.
Sorry, Nick, I was just going to say, like, you know, with this is where the conversations go a lot of the time with the heliocentric nonsense of like gravity, and even, well, not that it's even gas pressure. Gas pressure and the gas laws is a wonderful conversation, but again, that's got nothing to do with how Earth is measured. It's just gas behavior. And you can get into a conversation with somebody about gas pressure, and then you end up in the sky talking about planets and Mars and a load of nonsense. That's where it takes you. So these ideas in the heliocentric model, a lot of it takes you away from what we're actually going forward on the front foot. Is what we're saying now is, well, let's bring them back down to Earth, and how is it measured?
What is space? Let's do that.
Measured flat.
Space, length, breadth, and depth.
Is that curve?
A Cartesian system, no, it would be a square if you want to describe it as something. If you're like a box, I suppose you could describe it as. It's a system, it's conceptual. Length, breadth, and depth, right? For measuring stuff. No, that's not curved. That's
right.
Cartesian.
So height is Cartesian.
Yeah.
So how high the star appears in the sky is Cartesian. So you're going to develop space from Cartesian, and then you're going to ask me about soil in the sky. It's Yeah, I can say indefinitely that's not soil up there.
I mean, you don't know that it isn't.
Yeah, I do.
That's what I've just had leveled at me. I completely agree. Where's the soil? Beneath my feet. Is it in the sky? No.
You haven't been there. You don't know. You
I've been
can't
in the sky.
validate it.
It's just the empty void filled with gas. So, I mean, yeah, I've spent plenty of time in the sky.
Does soil float?
No.
Neil?
No.
Listen, you ain't been in outer space. Things could be different up there.
Outer space is length, breadth, depth. That is related to planar measurements. So we're not going to go to outer space. We'll just stick with space. That's where we live. It's not soil, Neil.
Have you been on a star? Have you been? People said they went to the moon. I mean, you can't prove that they didn't.
Have I been to the moon?
That's what he asked you.
Why would I need to go to the moon to know it's not soil?
Because
Neil?
people went to the moon and they said they played golf. They got video of it. They did experiments up there, just like they did experiments in Antarctica.
How'd they get to the moon, Neil?
They took a rocket ship.
They took a rocket and went where?
Through the
They
wardrobe.
went to the moon.
Through
The
the
amount of fuel that was purchased proves
Don't
that
say
they
up.
went to the moon.
How did they go to the moon, Neil? You've not answered that question. You said they went
They
to the
flew.
moon. They flew.
Yeah.
Did they go up, Neil?
They flew on DC-10s to visit the mighty Xenu with the souls of all of the Thetans. What's your problem?
They went up. You can go up directly from one point on a globe. You can go straight up.
No, you can't. It's out and in, Neil. It's not up.
I'm looking at a freaking orange right now. I got my finger on it. I'm going right up, straight up from one point. That's not in or out.
Exactly. It's exactly. So with respect to a horizontal planar reference, not a curve.
I'm going straight up from the curve. I'm going to get a bigger one. I'm going to do it on a cantaloupe. Okay, I'm doing it on a cantaloupe right now. I'm going straight up from one point.
Go up
From one point on top of the orange or cantaloupe?
From right on the tip of the freaking cantaloupe. Hold on. Let me get
On
a
the
bigger
top
one.
of
Let me
it?
get a melon.
Get you a beach ball, Neil. Are you going up or are you going out?
Point here is that to describe these orientations, if you're going to take a beach ball or a cantaloupe or a melon or whatever it is you're describing, to have an orientation capable of description perpendicular to the plane of reference, that's up, then you need to plonk this item into a grid or a system or a box, as I described it earlier, so you can describe its length, breadth and depth. Then within that already in existence system, you can then positionally describe with 3 axes where the top of that item is, based on where you've plonked it in the system, in the box. Now, without that system, you don't have a top on a cantaloupe. It's completely arbitrary. You don't have a system to reference where the up is coming from. When Neil says it's a single point, okay, well, you pick up your cantaloupe and then whatever your smallest finger's touching, that's going to be the point. Well, how do you orientate it? Well, you don't. You need your Cartesian system to orientate that single point with respect to a plane of reference, so then you can describe up perpendicular to it. Then you've got everything you need to describe this shape within this 3-dimensional system. But Neil wants to start with the 3-dimensional shape and no system, and suggests that we've got a point to describe an axiomatic principle that requires a horizontal plane of reference and 90 degrees to it, an orientation in the vertical, so we can go up from it. not just from a single point. It isn't that oversimplified if you're going to communicate this thing mathematically or indeed verbally to another person. Then you have to establish axiomatic principles to describe your single point with reference and respect to the plane. You'll always need the plane, Neil. You can't
There
get
you
away from
go.
it.
Thank you very much.
Now,
It's not the
do we need to
plane.
talk about gravity? Oh, it's not a plane.
Hold on. I heard Brian.
No, it's not.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Plane.
The sense got to jump in.
Now, don't you start with that. Don't
Yeah,
you
Brian.
start with that.
He says it's not a
Go
plane.
ahead, Brian.
What's not the plane?
I didn't say it's not the plane. I said it's not a plane specifically. You're not correct. It's a horizontal plane, a plane in the orientation of horizontal.
My bad. Yes, a horizontal plane. Not just a
He
plane.
did say that.
I did at one
He
point.
did say that.
But fine, yes, it does need
Simple for Nathan, if
offered.
anything.
It does need specificity offered, and Brian is correct. Specifically horizontal plane, especially when referencing Earth in any regard for any measurement. Always a horizontal plane.
So you can't just go from one point on a freaking watermelon or a cantaloupe or a beach ball. So stop sending me these freaking messages, ballers.
Yeah, if you want to talk about measuring the surface of Earth with linear miles, they want to talk about measuring a cantaloupe. If you want to talk about how kilometres can only be represented with respect to a linear, flat distance as per the scale on a map, they want to talk about how you measure trousers with a tape. It's hilarious. It's like, are we measuring our trousers? It rings of a Kumu virus when these people tell me, "You telling me I can't run a tape measure around my fat belly?" Yeah, you can. It's just not how we deal with Earth, is it? Bless your fat belly. Yeah, linear. Yeah? The number of yards are being dealt with around your fat belly when we look at a map. And that scale that's flat and linear. Yeah, that's how we deal with Earth. Flat. What's that? You got a big fat belly? You can measure it with a tape? Round? Yeah, go on a diet then, fatty. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat. It's linear. I mean straight. Not round your fat belly with your tape measure. Yeah?
The thing is this, right? I can stand on the surface of a sphere and I can make a straight line from my position, right? If the force of gravity existed. Now, within our paradigm, the force of gravity doesn't exist anymore. So plumb bobs wouldn't even diverge, right? I don't know what plumb bobs would do because they have no explanation for what a plumb bob does since 1915 when Albert Einstein threw a force of gravity out the window. The thing is this, right? I could make a tangent to that spherical surface, right? I could then walk forward 1 foot and make another tangent. Now, both of those would be straight lines, right, geometrically. But none of them would be horizontal because none of those would be parallel to each other. And that's the thing. If they're not parallel, they're not horizontal. They're not horizontal, then they're not in alignment with reality. It's that simple. So if you think when you step forward, 1 foot, you make another straight line, that you're going to have two diverging horizontals, then you got problems. So
Did you just say your foot creates a straight line?
yeah, as a tangent, yeah.
No, it wouldn't. That's not how straight lines work. It would be a curve at all points.
A tangent is
It
not
would deviate from
geometrically
zero.
a tangent.
There would never be. Yeah, but your foot is not a point.
It's a point on the
Geometrically,
surface of a sphere. If I'm
foot.
standing on one.
Not a point. It's not.
Quick
Your
shout out.
foot is a foot. Point is
The point, the place I stand upon is the point on the surface of the sphere. When I take a step forward, I'm standing on a different point on the surface of the sphere. I can make two tangents to those 2 points. They will not be parallel because none of them will be horizontal. What is your exact issue with this again?
No, a foot is not a curve.
I didn't say anything about a foot. I never mentioned
How
the
said it
term
was a
foot.
curve?
Actually, I did.
You
I said if
said
I
your
step
foot
forward
is a
1 foot, you're
point?
right. I said if I step forward 1 foot, but it doesn't matter because if I step forward a distance of 12 inches, what does it matter?
But an inch not a point either. I think it's John's point, right?
Foot is not a point.
Yeah, well, if I take one step forward, let's take the foot out, 1 step forward, then.
Yes, and your foot is not a point.
Thank you, teacher John. Thank you for being such a brilliant teacher that hasn't taught me stuff.
Oh, wow. Oh, hyperspecificity, Brian. I guess it's only important when you do it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I accept. The difference between me and you, John, is I accept when I've made a mistake or I'm wrong. No, Nathan, this is something you don't know. You're not aware of. The difference between me and you, John, is I accept that I'm wrong. I don't turn into a complete idiot.
Oh my God! Right, let's just do a
Thank
quick
you,
shout
Brian,
out.
for
Stop,
calling
both
me
of
an
you.
idiot.
Hold your tongues.
So educated.
Quick
Well,
shout
you
out.
did turn into an idiot when you did not answer the question,
Hold your
John.
tongues, gentlemen. Quick
Brian
shout out.
acknowledged when he was
because I don't
wrong,
speak
and we
Latin.
moved forward. It can't be done with you.
Are we moving forward? Is this moving forward?
Not shouting out this super
Does this
chat that
seem
we
like
want to shout
moving?
out, that's for sure.
Let it go, Neil. Let it go. He's too much of a child.
Nathan's got a super chat.
Shout out to Meme Cannon. Says, I'm simping for John. He's my favourite, Neil. Give you the super chat, Meme
Right.
Cannon.
Yeah, when you hold up mirrors, people get angry. They start
Yeah,
attacking
very
you on a
handsome.
personal level.
When you prove people wrong, then you get very angry.
I bet you no one can really think of the question I was trying to claim what you're stating as fact.
You guys are leaving the audience in the dark, and that's not right.
That's fair enough point. What
unless
John's
you're going to
saying
explain
is,
to them.
as soon as you start ascribing the distance, Brian described it as a step or a foot, and John is saying you can't have this ascribed to a ball because you need a single point. And in any measurable, quantifiable distance, right down to the inch, the foot, the yard, the mile, they're all incapable of description as a single point. That's John's point, right? Unless I'm missing something.
No, an inch can be a single point, just not on the surface of the sphere. But you can still have a single point on the surface of the sphere.
That's not what point means. Point doesn't
straight line.
have two-dimensional. It is a point has 0 dimensions. You're saying this two-dimensional line is a point, and it's not.
Who's saying a two-dimensional line is a point?
Your foot is a point on a sphere, Brian?
I said, if I take this, okay, John, okay, I'll redo it because you're having big issues with it.
It's not big issues.
I'm standing on the surface of a sphere, and I make a tangent right underneath my feet. If I take a step forward, 1 step forward, and I make another tangent right underneath my feet, right at those 2 points where those 2 tangents meet, those 2 tangents will not be parallel to each other.
No.
They will be divergent. So they won't be horizontal. So they don't match reality, which was my actual point.
Hold on, John. Just so it doesn't get dragged out forever. Can you just acknowledge what Brian said? He's pointing out with his multiple tangents that are never parallel, please.
That's fine. Yeah, it's not a tangent. No, I never asserted it was. What I'm pointing out is to assert it's a tangent, you have to first deny geometry.
Why would you have to deny geometry when tangents to a sphere or circles are part of geometry?
You don't get a plane from a point.
The tangent is touching the surface of a sphere or a circle at one point.
So not your foot.
I said underneath my foot. I just corrected that. The point underneath my foot, on the surface of a sphere.
So which point underneath your foot is touching the sphere, and what's the rest of it floating into tangent?
I'll tell you what I'll do. I could remove me from the equation altogether and just go into maybe degrees from the center point of the globe. So we go into that. So we need to do the maths for you for how for
I'm
what
really sorry
length.
to interject,
You know what I mean?
but just that's kind of the point, really. And I'm glad you've said it in that way, Brian, because isn't that just the point? As soon as you try and ascribe
Not here, it's not, Nathan.
any measurable,
Sorry.
as soon as you try and ascribe any measurable quality to the surface of Earth that you're actually standing on or measuring, that's geometry, then you're going to violate any base principle of that geometry if the surface is curving. So in order to get around that, you need to, as you just did, take it away from the actual measurable surface of the world that we stand on and measure with feet and inches and miles and in a linear fashion, and take it into a mathematics that isn't the surface of the world so that you can have it tangential to a point. Now, that is a reasonable summary, would you not agree?
You've missed the bit that they're not, as Brian said, that they're not therefore horizontal or parallel. Those two tangents. That's Brian's point, I think.
Yeah, we got that, and I made John acknowledge it, and he said that was fine. That's as good as we got out of him. But I did definitely recognise that point that Brian was making.
Yeah, but see, the thing is,
my point isn't being recognized.
Brian was first.
Okay,
Brian.
I was describing a situation. I used the term foot. That was incorrect. John pointed that's incorrect. Brian, that's incorrect. And then I just said I took a step forward, right? Step is no defined distance. So at that point, I'm not making any claim of measurement.
Yeah.
I'm not using anything.
Yeah.
I'm just describing a situation.
Yeah, can you acknowledge what I've just said, though? That's the point. For you to quantify it spherically, you're not measuring Earth then. Yeah? You're going to take it to a step, because a foot's not good enough spherically, right? It won't work. So you've got to change it to a step, because that's unquantifiable and therefore okay. But you're not measuring Earth anymore.
You can traverse a foot, it's fine. The point of recognition needs to be that after however small, larger distance, whether it's quantified or not, at the point that you have to then set up another point-based tangent to the surface, those two tangents that you've now created will not be parallel. Therefore,
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. Could you please acknowledge my point?
What exactly is
repeat it back? Repeat it back, because y'all been listening so well. I don't acknowledge anything. Hold on.
You said a point was zero.
I don't acknowledge anything. Hold on. I don't acknowledge anything. That's your position, and I don't like to be proven wrong.
That wasn't my position.
Restate what I said.
Incorrect, not my position. My position was very clear.
Restate what I
you
said.
Concede when you're wrong.
Brian, we've acknowledged your position 3 times.
He's asking someone else to give back to him his position when he's not even able to give them their position correctly or honestly.
We've had your position repeated multiple times now. He's asking for the same in return, and you're rumpusing him.
No, you don't know what's going on here, man.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I'm finished with this, is what it is.
Nathan does.
Yes, Nathan does. Special boy treatment. You don't get special boy treatment and then get to turn around and treat me like garbage. No.
But you're the special boy. Nathan takes your side most of the time. All Nathan said was, okay, we've heard your point. Yes, we did. Why can't you address his? Like, that's all he asked. It doesn't have to be an argument. Like,
what?
We don't know who you're talking to, Eli.
Ask him again, Nathan. Ask him again.
Could John make his point?
Hold on, Eli. Eli, who are you addressing with that statement? Were you addressing Brian or John with that statement?
I was addressing John because you had responded in saying, yeah, he did. And then Neil said, no, he didn't. And then I said, yeah, he did.
That's very useful. Thank you, Eli.
I'm sorry you can't remember what you said 5 seconds ago, Nathan. I'm not going to help
Say
you
what
any
you
further
said.
than that.
Hold on, says the guy that said, "Did I lose my train of thought?"
Before you go on,
Yo, we're a cluster screw of
Hold on a
friends.
second. You got a lot of your wind noise. Go ahead, Adam. Eli's wind noise, that is, not Brian's.
just because I was late joining and I was hearing Brian. I think I summarised what I thought Brian was explaining, but what I didn't hear was John's objection or point of amendment. Could he just make that clear? Because I'm a little lost. I don't really.
Yeah, everyone is. Brian, though, isn't. He said, I don't listen and I don't concede. I gave him his point. But now nobody can give me back mine.
I can tell
now
you.
Be quiet, please.
I was asking you what your point was.
That to describe anything three-dimensionally, you can't do it on the surface of a sphere without having your foot is not a point. To describe anything, any of these things, you're going to take them to the center of the sphere to describe them and cast them out with angles.
Yeah, nobody was having an argument about how you would have to do it. I was just describing it.
But see now.
But the thing is that you didn't concede
to help
anything,
Brian
John.
out.
You didn't concede anything, John. That was a lie which you said a second ago. Because there was no argument about what I said concerning the two tangents not being parallel. You didn't argue against that point. There was no argument. So you didn't concede. When you agreed that wasn't you conceding to anything.
I acknowledged your point.
That's a lie.
You wouldn't acknowledge
when you said that you conceded. You didn't.
You would not acknowledge my point when I was making it. And now you're trying to act like you were acknowledging my point. Has anybody picked up his game?
And I conceded. Well, I conceded all along without problem. That's a lie again.
Okay, fine. So can I just step in at this point then? Sorry, John. So at this point, my summary then gets to get reiterated. Would you agree, Brian, that given that the measurement standards that we use are laid down in terms of how they get applied to the surface of Earth in a Cartesian fashion, that you can't, as John is pointing out, apply those to the surface of a sphere, because you can't suggest that a foot, an inch, a mile can terminate at a point on a sphere, because it's a violation of that standard that's being used when you say, in this case, I don't want to trigger you, but foot, right? Can that?
Yeah, okay, you're falling into the trap, Nathan. Yeah, I agree. That a foot, because the foot is a straight line. Yeah, it's not going to work on the surface of the sphere. If I'm just describing it from the surface, it would have to be that amount of distance and arc length from the center. Yeah, I'm fully. You would not believe, Nathan, how fully aware I am of that. There's so much I'm aware of geometrically that you wouldn't believe it. Honestly, no problem with me understanding that simple concept. Maybe go watch my videos, Nathan. Maybe watch them. Maybe then you'll be convinced that I know what I'm talking
about. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm a special boy.
Yeah,
what's going on? What's happening? What's happening? I thought I'd taken the full brunt.
I take exception, Nathan, to you suddenly acting as if you're the teacher of something here. You're not the teacher of something here. Before John ever said to you that you can't have an up and a down on a sphere, I was saying it. You ignored it consistently. I specifically said you can only have an in and into the center or out from the surface. I specifically said that, and you ignored it all the time. Suddenly John says it to you, and it's a revelation, and you can't shut up about it.
Yeah, 2 weeks before.
That's pretty much correct.
The first person to
2 weeks before, right? 2 weeks before.
I'll take it on the chin.
That's right, John. It's there in the live shows.
Let me just reiterate. Hello. Let's reiterate Brian's gripe. Brian's gripe is that upon pointing this out multiple times and it being met with deaf ears on my part, that is to say, I'm not saying, yeah, you're right. It's only up and down perpendicular to a plane, like I've said so concisely today. Brian's saying, when I point it out, it's deaf ears, no one's repeating anything. Yet John says it, suddenly it's a revelation. Correct?
With you, Nathan. I can't speak for other people. I'm talking about you.
Oh, okay. I mean, what do you want me to say? when I've heard it from John, it's resonated better than when it's been said by you. Is that what you want me to say? So it's like you're the martyr and I'm the unreasonable
No,
one
John
not
just
listening.
said the same thing as I said. There's no special different way. You say it the way you say it. You know, the difference is that I could say something to you 10 times, 100 times, in one area or the other. John says it and it's a revelation. Now, I don't mind that, right? I tolerate that when John says something, you pay more attention. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with you then turning around and trying to geometrically educate me.
Nah, don't take that the wrong way.
When you said the other day,
well, let's clear that up.
thing you could say about the video the other day is, after 17 minutes it got there.
No,
that means you're not paying attention.
You. Let me apologise, right? That's not my intention. My intention is only ever to educate the audience. And what you're suggesting is there's a good chance you only found out the thing that you're reiterating in a slow tone 30 seconds earlier, yet you're seemingly condescending to me who knew it long before you did, and you've even ignored it multiple times. How dare you condescend to me like you're educating me? I'm not. I'm trying to educate an audience. Don't take it like I'm trying to condescend to you, and I will. I'll acknowledge it. And I'll acknowledge the super chat, which gives the sentiment beautifully. Brian knew 2 weeks before the show, John. Yeah, thank you very much, Meme Cannon, for the super chat. Yeah, Brian.
All you got to do is
that.
check some of Brian's old videos and you'll see.
I'm still not sure on the point of contention. Call me a bit of a thickie, if you wish, but I'm just trying to keep up with what appears to be a point of contention. And getting things right and described right is important. But what I heard John say was, at this point where if you're going to create a tangent, it can only be a point source on the surface, yeah? Is that the point of contention, that this actually can only be a theoretical point source where you create the tangent?
Well, yeah, but you would need first to establish the system from a plane to do that point source, to establish that quadrant-based geometry that you're getting ready to use as a point source.
You mean because you're going to apply geometry to what you're doing?
Yeah, because you're going to say a foot
of circumferential travel, which would equate to 0.000026515 degrees of angular change
from hell
of light to
thank you
set up parallel planes, which are not parallel because they're out by that just stated amount, both being tangent to the surface at a point.
Can't have those.
That's what I've got. That's what I've got being
to Brian.
described.
Bloody hell! Did you not listen to Brian?
That's what Brian's described. But we're now accepting that whenever you create a tangent to the surface of a sphere, presupposed or not, there isn't actually a surface area per se. It is, as John says, it is a point source. Because this is you're translating reality when you've set up your level to then mathematics. So when you translate it from reality to the mathematics that you're going to presuppose you're living on a ball, it becomes a point source. It doesn't have it doesn't apply to the surface of the sphere. It can't, can it?
Yes, sir.
What did you said?
Thank you.
He's just said that you need to define it within the system first to have that point to begin with. So before you get to the point on the ball, you need it in a system to begin with. That's what I just heard, at least, unless I'm adding things that aren't there, hallucinating what John just said. Did I add that in unnecessarily? You need the system first, right?
No, but yeah, but the system being geometry, you've not yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's all. We were not yet using. At the moment, we've got a big circle, haven't we? And a dot, a point on it, and then a straight line.
No, that's, again, I don't want to be accused of favoritism, but no, from what I'm understanding, the system that's defined gets defined at the point that the measurement structure gets defined with foot. Therefore, that's the starting point, unless I'm very much mistaken.
What derivation of unit you're going to?
Yeah, geometry. Then we're into the earth measurement with feet.
The derivation of unit is a different argument with regards to what I think is the point that we've got diverging zeniths or non-parallel horizontals.
Exactly. That was my point. So then you're into, so you can't define this within the construct or reality of measuring Earth with a defined system like miles, inches, etc. You can't do that. You've got to take it somewhere else. And Brian succinctly summarised that point when he's like, well, I'll take it out of the system or use a non-defined description with a step rather than an inch or a foot or a yard or anything, right? So that was my point. You have to take it out of reality.
It is out of reality because it's on a ball, which is why Brian said, I'll give you the angular measurement, which is what I worked out. So we could progress forward 0.00000026515 degrees, which would equate to that foot in terms of traversement of a presupposed spherical surface.
I mean, because that's non-linear.
No, but this is perfectly acceptable geometric ways of describing the movement, the repositioning. And that's fine. But if you're going, I said, are we attacking the derivation of the unit, or are we dealing with the premise that once we go to this land where we're going to move a foot or that many degrees, that the implication is that we no longer have parallel horizontals? That's Brian's point.
Here, hold on.
Yeah,
but when you go to this Narnia, right, and take it out of reality, you're going to the center of a sphere on a plane to describe those degrees with respect to, because it's a point source. You have to then establish a quadrant-based direction that your angle is going to move in.
Yeah, but my overall,
all this mathematical stuff is turning my brain off, but turning me on.
Well, can we just hear John and Adam? Yes, indeedy, Brian.
Brian, just slow down a sec. I'm still trying to get John's point. I can't agree or disagree. So after I'm doing what I'm doing, which is talking about angular change with regards to the amount on a circumference and setting up point source parallel planes at those different positions, when am I going to, as a baller, when am I invoking the prerequisite flat Earth? At the moment, I've not done it yet. I believe I live on a ball. I've set up a tangent, and I've set up another tangent, which I know isn't parallel to it.
What you've done is you've created 2 point sources, though. One on the surface of the sphere and one on the center of the sphere.
No.
And you're describing the angular change from the center of the sphere and the angular change from the surface of the sphere as it would be equated in degrees on that surface. You see, so you're describing your sphere from the center. You don't have a frame of reference to describe this from now.
No, you just said
you've removed all aspects of measurement at that point.
No, the frame of reference now is the R, because you've set up the frame of reference to be the sphere, which is going to be defined by, again, geometry of a sphere, but also fundamentally for any real world application by a presupposed R value. That's now your coordinate system you're working with. Now, you can argue that sphere requires a Cartesian grid system to define its positions in actuality.
Right.
That would be fine.
What do you have a measurement? You have to have a conceptual unit, right, which will have that, but you also have to have a reference. What is your reference then if you cannot reference it except from the center of a sphere that you can't be in?
You're going to have to make that point clear. I didn't understand the point you're making.
You cannot reference it.
Reference what?
The center of the sphere you think you're standing on at that point. You cannot reference it.
I don't need to reference it.
It's not something you experience.
No,
You're describing it from the center of the sphere. You're not in the center
No,
of
I'm
the
not
sphere.
describing it from the
Reference.
center of the sphere. I'm describing it from the tangent point source I've created. Now, will I translocate it later in calculation? Yes, but I don't need to reference the point I'm going to translocate it to.
No, you have to have a point of reference. Your point of reference
is my tangent.
It's the outside of the sphere, right? Yeah. If you're going to try to say that, then you don't have the inch. You don't have the foot. You don't have the mile.
We're jumping to units now. We're trying to define the reference point. The reference point is the point source on my imaginary tangent that I've just created on my imaginary curve here. But in reality, I'm stood there on the ground having leveled my device. Now, I'm going to
exactly
real world measurement.
Just give Adam props for dropping that in. Thank you. Keeps me happy.
No, but right there, when you like, if you're not going to, if you're not
hasn't finished, he's in the middle of a thought.
Carry on, it's fine. If I've taken that real world measurement at that point, all that is an angle. If what I apply it to is up to me after that, isn't it? But to me to translocate it to a center of a presupposed Earth doesn't have to be referenceable. I'm going to use it for calculation that point and to apply that 0.0000002 of a degree as a percentage of my radio, of my circumferential value derived from R in all of my
calculations. You don't have a measurement. Then you don't have a measurement at that point. I've got one using calculation.
Well, I would say at this point he has, let's say he does have a measurement that has nothing to do with the Earth whatsoever. Because all he's mentioned is a tangent so far.
Yeah.
And he hasn't even mentioned a separate measurement for there to be diverging horizontals. So at this point, whatever he does have, it doesn't have anything to do with the Earth.
So at this point, he has a point and nothing else.
Sounds like it.
Good point.
Adam?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Nothing in physical reality, nothing that can be ascribed to geometric distances, nothing that can be utilizable with an inch, which hasn't, as Adam points out, been ascribed yet, and we haven't needed to. But we've got nothing. We've got nothing of value when we're talking about Earth. Then, haven't we? Right.
I've set right. So
that was my point.
At this point, I've set up a horizontal, and I know whatever distance I travel, I need to describe it. Be it degrees, curved inches, whatever. I know that when I move, even as a baller, when I set up my next tangent horizontal plane, it will not be parallel with the previous one. That's a problem. That's the problem Brian's pointing out, I think.
Yeah.
No. How did you get a line?
1 second, John. 1 second.
How'd you get a vertical? Hold up.
1 second, John. What I pointed out was that if those tangents, whether the arc length between the 2 points that the tangents are meeting, the surface of the circle or sphere at, whether that's a small arc length or a great arc length, it won't matter because those 2 tangents will not be parallel to each other. Which means none of them can ever, no tangent to any point on the surface of a sphere can ever be horizontal. Even though that might be what I want it to be, it won't be because there will be no consistency in that orientation, and it's the orientation that's important. So in reality, when I do that, it doesn't matter if those 2 straight lines that I place on the ground are at different elevations, they will always be parallel to each other. And so if you're claiming my point was that if you're claiming a situation where you made 2 straight lines, the 2 points on the surface of Earth, and those lines are not parallel to each other, then your claim is out the window. Because in reality, all horizontals, because you can't have horizontal on a sphere. The orientation of a horizontal is a constant, and all lines made in that orientation will always be parallel to each other. Always.
Pardon me. The point source is, we're back to my point now. How did you get a vertical to create a tangent plane? We only have a point. We don't have nothing else. What are you talking about? Tangent.
Spirit level.
I don't even need it.
Adam, do you have to take the
See you
position
later.
of the man urinating down our back? Right, I'm going to shout out super chat, but it's not fun having Adam take this position. Fun for him, probably.
Was it painful?
Go on, Adam. I'll shout out the super chat in a second. Go ahead.
I'm not playing an advocacy role here. These premises are perfectly acceptable for them to define, right? The destruction isn't to shout inches at them, is to let them get to the point of setting up their two non-parallel planes and then laugh at them. But you can't destroy a baller and
set up that plane.
It's not reasonable to try and take them apart at the point that they're setting up their failure with just shouting down, derive your unit. It doesn't help the argument. It doesn't help the non-informed listener understand why, even if you'd like to call it allowing them to beg the question, but you've got to at least allow them to set it up to demonstrate why it's false.
Pardon me, you just conceded that all they have is a point source. How did you get a vertical to have a tangent plane to create the horizontal?
There is no verticals on the sphere. So you won't be creating verticals. They don't need that.
So no tangent plane.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I guess, but isn't Adam's point that, like, obviously we all know that, right?
No.
So it's like, I guess Adam's trying to say that when you're talking to not a math professor or somebody who gives a crap, like, you got to make it palatable. Like, if I told my girl what you said just now, she'd look at me like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, that's no
as
problem.
simple as it is.
Eli, no worries, right? What we're dealing with here is hyperspecificity in terms of what is acquirable when you assume a single point, right? Now, this, I don't care if it's undigestible to the layman, right? This is good. I'm enjoying it. So
yeah, me too.
So we're at the point, John, where you're having Brian explain where they get their initial plane from, correct?
But I don't need.
Yes.
I don't need anything to define a point.
A point, a plane. They're not the same thing, are they?
Yeah, but I don't need anything to define the point. You said point. I don't need anything to define that initial point.
No, I give you a point. I give you a point. Now, how do you have a plane?
How do I have a tangent? How do I have a tangent?
You've got a tangential. You're about to set up.
Hold on, Adam. Hold on, Adam. Just one sec, Adam. Just one sec. Yes, Brian. Yes, Brian. Yes, the
tangent. How do I have a tangent? Well, the tangent is going to be 90 degrees from my zenith.
Where'd you get that? From a ball.
Spirit level.
Shut up, Adam.
Zenith is straight down through.
But this is John's point.
Zenith is straight down through me to the point.
Good.
I can do the same on a flat earth, except for there will be a vertical and a horizontal involved, not just a 90 degrees. Do you understand? Like, it's stupid.
Yes. I'm going to read out the super chat.
So,
click, says, God's love to you, purporting his truth, Isaiah 42:8. Thank you for the super chat.
Yet again, zenith is not a point. A zenith is not a point.
It's a point above your head.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's a line.
It's that point directly above your head.
It's not a point.
That is the definition of zenith.
It's a line that
on
goes
screen
through your
right
body
now.
directly over your
lines.
head.
There's no lines.
Directly over your head.
No, it's a point source above your head.
Line.
Show me one zenith where there's a big line.
Well,
Show me one zenith where there's a big line. There isn't.
You've got two things, the thing above your head and your head. Between those two things, head and thing above head, that's two things forming the line.
No, there is no line.
Yeah, look on Nathan is presenting.
Imagine a line.
Show on Nathan is presenting.
Yeah, it's got zenith on screen.
On screen, in reality, when is there ever a big Indian arrow pointing to the star?
I walk around with a zenith line. Have you not seen it? It's very erect.
Wow. You carry one around with you? hey, on your back, just in case you're going to get underneath a star, and then you're pointing straight up and go, there's my zenith line. That's why I carry it.
And there's always a little dot that follows
source,
above your head
which
too,
is
right?
above
There's always
your
a little dot above your head too, right?
No,
is that your point?
Source, like the point source on the ground, not a real point in reality, just an imaginary
But
place
not above
in the
your head.
mathematical construct you're making.
Okay, so not above your head, it's on the ground.
Can we just agree that we're dealing with conceptual?
That's
yes,
not
there's no equator in reality. Yes, there's no latitude lines in reality. Yes,
I have a question.
The zenith is not really a line coming out of my head. Okay, Adam, fine. We'll give it you. Yes, there's no zenith line coming out of my head. There's no Indian arrow.
Right.
Fine.
There's no point that follows you around wherever you walk. Either acknowledge that as well.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. When you made the point to Brian earlier, you made it quite specifically clear that any point source isn't actually in reality. Yeah, it's a zero-dimensional construct. Your statement earlier at the beginning of this to Brian. So of course I agree with that.
So there's no little dot that you just said that's directly over your head everywhere you go.
There is one that doesn't start.
I don't know. I don't know if this is more of a point than what I was going to ask, which how do you have your zenith equate to 90 degrees without a horizontal plane of reference?
You don't.
Because if you have a circle, you don't know what. If you have a circle that's 360 degrees and you're standing somewhere, how do you know which is 90?
You use what's called a cross staff. So in doing that, it basically is a plumb bob, and what you don't then have to do is calculate your co-altitude. You just derive the co-angle directly from measurement from your cross staff.
You can still have a 90 degrees to where a zenith meets a tangent. You can still have a 90 degrees.
Yeah, but your 90
your
90 is to the tangent.
Directly to the centre of the Earth.
The 90 is only to the tangent, though, Brian.
No, Nathan. The line is coming from the centre of the globe or the sphere through that point and up to it. Right? And the tangent is 90 degrees to that point. To that line from the center.
See,
that's
all they have is a point, though. Now they're talking about all this other stuff. Where'd you get all that?
From my cross staff.
From your spirit level.
Well,
from physical reality that you cannot reference.
Yeah, because I'm not at sea.
Back to my point again.
Because I'm not at sea, and I'm a 5th century monk. The way in which I measure the stars is to use a cross staff. The principles of a plumb bob to define, my vertical. And I know that I live on a ball, so I know that vertical is pointing straight to the center of the Earth and straight up to my zenith. As long as I can get my cross staff balanced correctly. And then, like I said, I can take my angle to the star off the cross staff and get my elevation angle there. But in this case, I don't have to take it away from 90. I've already derived the co-angle.
Yeah, you've already just skipped over the entire problem at this point, and you moved on to something else because your point of concession, you've already conceded, and now you just want to move on with the argument.
No, the issue here is the lack of understanding, I think, John, on your side and Nathan's side, of the importance of the orientation. Because that was my initial point. Right, you can still get a 90 green a line from the center of the globe in imparting a tangent at one point on the surface of that sphere, blah blah. You can still geometrically do all that, but the problem is the orientations of horizontal and vertical cannot exist. That is the problem. Not whether you could create a 90 degree angle while standing on the surface of the globe. Who cares? Right. You could create a 90 degree angle on your floor for the corner of the wall. It doesn't matter. The point being is that the orientations of horizontal and vertical cannot exist within that paradigm. Now, I'm not teaching you that, you know that, but that's the point.
Yeah, I know that. But you're missing my point. You're missing my point, and you're wanting to jump to that. And no matter how much I restate it, you won't listen. until I get Nathan to accept the point, and then you'll have said it 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, you won't accept it till I've accepted it.
Make your point then, John. Make your point then. I'll be quiet and I'll do my best to take on board what it is you're saying.
After I got Adam to concede that he only has a point with no reference to reality.
Like the Zenith.
He went to Zenith. He went to Zenith right after, didn't he?
No, John, you're getting a bit delusional, mate. What is your point?
Go on, Adam.
I'm delusional?
That's
when
what he
you
said.
said you always have a point.
Delusional. Because you were just given the floor and you started it after I got Adam to concede. Well, you didn't, unless you'd like to go into that conversation, but you're supposed to be explaining your point.
What is the time frame on this?
Well, I don't know.
As
the
long
way
as you
you
need,
keep
I don't
not
mind staying
getting
live.
Well, it could be about
I want to make a
long as you need.
presentation for you, though.
As long as you need.
I'm done.
That was quicker than I expected.
Why couldn't you just reiterate your point instead of saying that when I had Adam to concede? I'm still waiting.
Yeah, John. If you can't make a point clearly and concisely, then I don't know what point you have. Because if it's something that we all already know, then how is it a point?
The point source that they will appeal to create anything, they don't have anything else. They don't have any frame of reference in which to describe this from. They don't have measurement, so they can't use a conceptual unit to apply to an aspect of reality to even translate the information to you.
Yeah, that seems to be right in line with my original point concerning those two tangents not being parallel to each other. So consequently, none of them can be horizontal. Horizontal can exist within that paradigm, which would be the orientation of horizontal, which is a constant, right? So that means vertical can exist within that paradigm. So these things can't be described. That was so anything that's outside of that, outside of reality, which is two straight lines that are both claimed to be horizontal, but they're not parallel with each other, means that it's outside reality. It doesn't fit with reality. No, they're not horizontals. That was my original point. That was my original point, John. You've just
That's not
tried
what
to
I
go
said,
around the
though.
circle and make my
That's
point.
not what I said.
Why are you responding with? Why are you responding with? Wait, I missed it. What did he say? What are you saying? He said, Brian. I'm sorry.
John is now referring to there being no reference for this point to do anything with it. Basically, there was no measurement available, and there's no orientation. He didn't say orientation because he knew at that point he'd just be making my point. That was my initial point. And I stressed it here, orientation.
You did say everything other than orientation.
You made when you tried to make it in a different way and pretend you weren't making the same point, as if you had a new point that no one was understanding. Yeah, when I said it, when I said it, John, when I pointed that out, you were saying you used the word push because you were trying to be anal about it because you have an issue with me.
Okay, let me just.
So how did what you say? Okay,
again.
1 second.
Okay,
how did what you say?
Brian, just 1 sec. Just let John respond, and then there's somebody new in Discord that I'm hoping to say hello to. So go ahead, John. Refracted curvature.
They do not have the means to ascribe any conceptual unit to any aspect of reality. They do not have any way to reference reality. Now, where did I say horizontal orientation? Anything in that?
No, John. No, hold on. No, as a third-party listener, you literally, when I jumped in the conversation, you said they don't have a reference or any. If you have a point, that's not a horizontal line. So what do you have? You don't have anything. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was appealing.
Okay, so why are you arguing with him now when he just repeated what you said?
No, he's making his point.
He didn't repeat what I said.
I did, John. You employ, by what you said, you're employing the orientations, the consistent orientations of horizontal and vertical. Where all horizontals are parallel to each other and all verticals are parallel to each other. You employ that via what you said. And now you're trying to deny. That is the very reference that you need. The reference that you're speaking about, that you're saying doesn't exist on the surface of the sphere, right, is those orientations. Or are those orientations?
It's not just those orientations, Brian.
No, but
it's
without those orientations, it all falls apart. You don't. Without those
listen to me.
You don't. It all falls
listen
apart.
to me.
One at a time. Yeah, John.
There is nothing. They don't have anything. The orientation, distance, up, down, zenith, parallel. They don't have anything.
Yeah,
it's the emptiest bag of nothing.
Okay,
so aren't you agreeing with him then?
Eli,
so,
chill.
1 second. Sorry, Eli, just 1 second. So, John, do you now agree that horizontal and vertical not existing for them means that they don't have any reference to work with?
I never disagreed with that point.
Right. So
I made a further
so when
point
I said
to
so
that.
you were so when you said so you were including horizontal and vertical within your statement. You said you didn't have anything. So would you say you were including horizontal and vertical within your statement?
Everything, Brian.
So
everything we
would you say
experience.
it's a yes or no question, John? Where are you including horizontal and vertical then within your statement?
It's part of everything.
So I take that as a yes then, since you won't say yes. Because I don't know why you're unable to be honest, but you won't say yes. So that
When
means
I
you have
said
no so that means that what I said originally, you have no real issue with other than the fact that you used the term foot.
Right. Because you're
you've
trying
made
to
the same
describe
point
this
I was making.
tangent plane.
Brian, you keep talking through his answer.
You're describing a tangent plane that they do have? No, they don't.
Why
No,
don't
they
they?
don't.
They don't have an orientation for the tangent plane. That's
They
my
do have a tangent plane. Let's just this is the crux. I understand what John's saying now. He's denying them absolutely everything. So no, they can't go into the back garden, get out their spirit level, and set up a tangent plane for where they are. Is that what you're saying, John?
A spirit level.
Okay, a theodolite, an auto leveling
or anything.
theodolite,
Yeah.
right? They get that out.
An auto level theodolite.
They've leveled it, and you're saying they're not even able to, after leveling that theodolite, call the plane that they've just created within the theodolite a tangent to the surface of their ball. They can't even do that.
Yeah, because it was auto level.
I'd have to disagree with that because they could still measure a 90 from
So
what
that
would be
level of
mathematically a straight line coming through the sphere from its center point, measure a 90 off of that. Measure a 90 off of that.
Off of
Off of a point directly above their head. They can infer a point if they like that's coming from the center of the globe. They can still measure a 90. Right?
Off
They can still measure a 90. Well, they know what a circle is, John. They can still measure a 90 and create a tangent. But that tangent, who cares, John? This is the point. You're jumping on what I'm saying, and you think you have some point. You don't. You're missing the greater point, even though you're claiming it yourself.
Oh my God.
Without the orientation of horizontal and vertical, it means absolutely nothing because it's all happening. It's all happening in fantasy outside of reality, which was my very point.
So the point source that they're going to use, this up in the sky over their head on the ground, which is not a point, you just described a line, is now capable of creating a level tangent plane that's
Well,
not
John, that's
level.
why they invoked it. It's invoked for a long time a force of gravity, and they're still trying to invoke it with a plumb bob. The point I'm making is all that means nothing. Them invoking an out-of-date force of gravity for their plumb bob and everything else they do means nothing because they don't have the orientations of horizontal and vertical. So everything they do after that means nothing because it does not adhere to reality, where those orientations do exist as constants. So I don't care about any geometry after that That's just geometry. You can do whatever. I don't care about anything because those plumb bobs will not. They will diverge from each other. They will not be parallel like they are in reality. That's the point I'm making. That's the point that, as far as I'm concerned, is important.
Did you ever think in your life that you would be taking the position that you could use your auto level to get a 90 for your tangent plane? Because that's what y'all are doing to me. And I think it's disgusting.
No, I'm describing their situation, John. And I'm giving them, even right tacitly, right? I'm not giving it to them, I'm just pointing out what they claim. Is that, force of gravity causes the plumb bob to point towards the center of the globe, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Not all of it falls apart without the orientations of horizontal and vertical. They don't have those orientations that are constants in our world, right? It's over. It's that simple. Any geometry they do after that means not, and this is what I show through my videos, that when I show their geometry, it fails in reality.
I thought we all agreed
Even with something simple like an angular size measurement. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, but they're missing my point about there is no reference. There's no way to even talk about this.
Oh, I got it. That's what I said. That's what I said. I agree with that. They have no reference. Okay.
Yeah, but the references would be horizontal and vertical. That would be the initial reference. Before you measure at them, you'd have to have a reference that will be consistent. They don't have that.
So their point source is useless, as was conceded earlier. What are you all doing?
Yeah, you all hate me?
Is that what it is?
Why are we jumping on me about the two tangents?
Is that what it is?
What was the purpose
Do you
of that?
hate me? Do you hate me?
No.
Is that what this has become?
No, but
we're having a show. We're having a show, guys. It's important for everybody who needs to catch up. No, I'm saying everybody who needs to catch up, be thankful that you are an actor in this. Like, don't get all to come on, we're all good.
This makes me think
I've been insulted. I've been insulted for 2 days.
No, that's not true. No, John,
yeah,
that's
I've
not
been called thick. I've been called thick. I've been called stupid, a liar. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
No, that's a step. But this is you having little moans now. That's what that is.
That's a new
one.
What's that?
I can't trust someone, John, who's not capable of conceding when they're wrong.
Right, so I'm a liar.
He's not wrong. How is he wrong?
You don't know what we're talking about, Nathan, like we said earlier. In general, John.
I thought he was saying you're not wrong for saying that you can't trust someone who doesn't concede.
It's a conversation from yesterday.
In general, right, I found, right, with refractive curvature, that when he's shown to be wrong or incorrect in any way about something, he becomes extremely anal. He won't just concede. And I can't trust somebody who does that, because that means I can't trust their judgment. Because when push comes to shove, their pride gets in the way. They're just conceding I'm wrong.
So
you don't think we're all a little? You don't think we're all a little like that?
Pause. So that when I made my statement that you all now agree with, and you argue,
I don't agree with it.
Can't trust yourself.
I don't agree with it.
Whoa. Yeah, go on, Adam.
I don't agree with it at all. I think you're failing badly to make any coherent point other than an appeal to definition of units, which will convince no newbie. It might be very smugly, you can sit there in your smug knowledge that the Earth's flat and you can say with absolute certitude, you can't have anything. That'll convince no one. All it does is inflate your own ego. It's useless as an argument to anybody you're trying to convince. It's futile. It's futile.
I would like to point out,
and all it
Adam,
is
he just
the
called me smug.
absolute pinnacle of the argument. But like I said, it's of no value.
Right. You just called me smug. Can I respond to you attacking me now?
Triggered. I can see you triggered. And you're being very rude.
Yeah, I'm being rude because I called
Relax,
you smug.
John. I know. I hear him being passive aggressive. You are being passive aggressive, Adam.
That's
you went a little extra for him to be a friend. For him to be a friend, I understand that
It's directly aggressive to the crapness of the argument and how shit it is when you put it out there. You, Nathan, anyone that descends it to that as if it means anything to the layman. You're fooling yourself with your own egos.
Okay, that's fair. So that's a direct. I mean, I can respect that he said that directly. You don't agree that? I mean, there is something to what he's saying, like the ability for. I know Nathan said he doesn't care if it's palatable for this conversation, but for Adam's point, I still agree. It's hard. It's hard. It's like, what's the point of me knowing stuff when I live with retards who don't care? Like, unless I can, like, you know, give it to them in fuzzy pop form or something. Like, because other than that, I'm basically alone.
Audience. So we're not here to educate the audience, as they will have you believe later in the conversation when I try to point out, you know, why it's important. It's not about educating the audience anymore. It's about being a smug asshole.
No, because he's saying that's not going. Well, if he's telling you that what he's perceiving you to do wouldn't convince someone, then what you just said is obviously not true, because that's not his intention based on what he said. Why would you?
Right.
So try again.
Well, see, our conversation does not happen in a vacuum. This is something that's developed over several days. Right.
Okay.
Now, I have been told that the reason that we have these conversations is to educate an audience. Now, the knowledge that you have makes you smug to know this. It's insulting at this point.
Well, what did you do? Now, I'm not saying you did anything. How did this happen? I guess I wasn't here 2 days ago. Well, like, what's the problem?
Neither was I. It was like they got together and had some back chats about Nathan repeating statements and not being able to back
there was
them
no
up.
back
And
chat.
somehow
Stop
they
that.
blamed me
There was
for
no
it.
back
And
chats.
they blame me for it. Now they attack me for it.
No back chat. Stop that.
So what was
That's
it,
exactly
Neil?
what happened. Was Nathan there? And I showed up. Y'all wasn't expecting me to show up. And then that's when it popped off. Y'all were talking about Nathan while he was gone.
Outrageous.
We're talking about Nathan all the time. That's the best time to do it. What are you talking about?
Hells yeah. What?
Referring to
We should talk Nathan soon as he exits.
The chat that John's referring to took place after QE Live. There was all kinds of people there. So there's no special secret back chat went on.
He's talking about yesterday, Brian, when I came in and tried to explain to you that he's getting in the way of helping Nathan go a little further in his explaining things so the audience grasps it. He thought we were making a big thing and we were talking about him. Don't pat yourself on the back, Refracted. Nobody's talking about you.
No, I was very directly talking to you, John, yesterday. I was very direct to you.
No, not at first. Not until I got there. Like, y'all were already talking about how Nathan
I was talking about the conversation me and Adam and others had in the after show of QE. Yeah.
Right, and Nathan is being detrimental because he can't describe something and it's perceived as chanting.
Well, there's no point Nathan making claims and then not being able to support them. That makes not just him look bad, but everyone else. And I'm sure Nathan would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
So do you disagree with that? Do you think it's so Nathan should be making claims and not being able to back them up?
No. But what I said,
so what's your problem then?
Was if Nathan is making claims and can't back them up, then that's not useful. That is chanting. Is what I said. But I didn't accept that he wasn't able to back them up just because you said it.
No, I showed yesterday that Nathan couldn't back up. When I asked him to prove to me a mile was a horizontal, was a straight line measurement, he wasn't able to succinctly do it. I proved that yesterday on the show.
A mile can be considered a straight line measurement, right? No?
Well, a mile is. In its infancy, it's a straight line horizontal in its infancy. No, you can forward it.
Oh, your point was pushing them to make it clear for the audience why, right? Yeah, because we were having this conversation where you can't just say this bombastic like statement and then not really go into the particulars, right?
Like you were saying, go on, sorry.
No, that was it. Yeah.
But now that I went into the particulars, you see how someone is treated when they do.
No, that's
it's unimportant.
John. That's different, John. Adam pointed out the problem with you. No, Adam.
Wait. I want to hear.
What you did, John. Just 1 second here. What you did, John, is you tried to hijack the point I originally made that you had little issue with, right? And try and repurpose it to somehow be your point. That's what you did, and then act as if you had a point, right? When the truth is that the way you went about it and the way I went about it, right, was completely different. What you did was completely impractical to the average layman and unusable. What I did and what I pointed out was very practical to the average layman. That's what Adam was pointing out. So you didn't make any point different from what I made. You didn't make any point different from what I made. You just made it harder to understand. That's what you did, John.
I didn't make any point different than for what you made.
No, your point was actually...
That's what he said. That's what he said. He just said y'all had the same point, and I guess that's why it looks like y'all have the same point today, because you do. So I guess now the problem is Brian is claiming you made the point harder than it had to be, and you had the problem all along. What's your response to that?
Hold on. Brian made the point harder, much harder.
Okay. So my
point is that they don't have any way to reference reality, so there's no way for them to even describe to you this information.
I understand what you're saying, but as soon as you say that, you have to explain that to someone who's like, I know you're not telling me I don't know what a mile is, motherfucker. Of course we live on a road and it has something to do with something.
I just went through it, but that's what we just went through.
I guess Brian's point was you can't just say it without going through it. We went through it just now. If you were saying it in jest,
oh, God damn. Well, then can we not fucking keep it in a vacuum then, and let's move on?
Yes, you do have to keep it in a vacuum. That's the point, because as soon as you bring that point up, you are no longer making Brian's point. You go off to a separate point, derivation of unit. Like I said, instead of not having parallel horizontals, something.
So not saying the same thing, Eli.
No, I'm saying.
I'm sorry. Brian said
is changing the direction of the conversation, making the point that was being made moot. It's no longer the topic of conversation. You've introduced a new one, which is, like I say, derivation of the unit, as opposed to what Brian was pointing out, which is you cannot have parallel horizontals on a ball. That's the point where it's not helpful. It's not conducive.
You can't have a single horizontal on a ball, let alone multiple.
That's my point from the start.
No, yours is about two.
Time out. Let me ask a question before you argue. The question I'm asking is a point of clarity. That's why I'm asking
Eli, you're making this.
No,
Eli,
not
it's hard
both of
enough
you.
with just two of them.
You're being distracted. You're being distracted.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to ask the question.
That is not acceptable, John. I just made the point, and you want to go on to and bait Brian with arguing about whether there's one horizontal. Listen to the critique that's being given. It's got nothing to do with the subjects. It's about applying a basic destruction of the argument, which is fun sometimes, but actually can be considered rude by Brian when he's trying to outlay one point, and what we have to do is take it to the derivation of the unit. That's not helpful to the listener. Yeah, it's only helpful to our egos. Oh, look how quickly I demolished that.
I'm on the lower understanding of the particulars.
Eli.
So I am the layman. I'm trying to give you the layman perspective. Y'all aren't letting that happen. I am the layman. I'm trying to tell y'all what I'm hearing, and you think that's the least important, Nathan?
Because
I'm the one that understands this the least.
Yeah, we just want to.
No, I just want to say because what I heard Adam say is that you made a point that John agrees with, except for the fact he made it moot. Is that not what you said in full summary?
Yes.
All right. So, as a layman, you don't need to talk anymore. I want to understand why John's doing that.
1 second. John said you can't even have one horizontal on the sphere. And then he said, Brian, my whole point was, John, is that those two straight lines that will be 90 degrees, the two lines coming from the center of the sphere, none of them will be horizontal. But in reality, those two lines will be horizontal and they will be parallel to each other. Because horizontal can only exist, right, in reality over a horizontal plane of reference. It cannot exist on a sphere. So you're saying, John, you can't even have one horizontal. Brian, is bullshit, right? Because that's you trying to hijack my point again, right? You tried to hijack my point and make it your point several times because you don't actually have a point. You don't actually have a point.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do have a point.
And even when I asked you, are you inferring that horizontal and vertical within your point? You couldn't even give me a straight yes or no on that because you don't have honesty in your heart, John. Your heart is full of pride.
But the question to John is based on what we're saying, and if this is the reality of the conversation, is what Adam's saying and what Adam said and what I summarized, can you see that being true? If not, explain why it's not true. Explain how you didn't agree with his point and make it moot at the same time to explain your point.
Well, see, the horizontal that you will develop from the vertical and their intrinsic links, right? You have to have the first horizontal before you can create the second horizontal. Horizontal is not
the horizontal. So it starts with the horizontal, the horizon. That's what it starts with.
Now, I realize that you all have had plenty of conversations about me, but I sit here with my mic closed. Don't interrupt me while I try to answer Eli's question.
You were incorrect there. I was just giving you back a bit what you get out of. You were incorrect there, John. You create the vertical off the horizontal.
I'm not going to
just let him get his thoughts together. Just let him get his thoughts together. You're the first one that understands that your thoughts get jumbled up if someone's talking and then you might say something that's less accurate than you originally want. Just let him say everything and then respond to that. Even I hate to sound like a baller who's like, let me just get. But in this situation, it's actually relevant that you let him say everything so that you can then respond, because he can't get his thoughts out. I can hear it. He's getting frustrated, just like you do. We all do. Let him say what he right or wrong. Let him say what he's going to say.
Right. They want to describe to us vertical, horizontal, zeniths, but all of these concepts require Earth to be flat. And we go through that every day.
Well, if you remember, the conversation wasn't every day. I said every now and again. If Nathan
Neil, I just begged Brian to not interrupt his train of thought.
Eli and Neil, can you shut your pie holes? Go ahead, John.
Shut up, all ears. Hey, Eli, relax. All right? It started with me, the conversation. It started with me, so I'm clearing it up. What I said was it would be nice if Nathan would break it down every now and then, not every single time he says Earth is measured flat.
Yeah, your initial shit stirring is not relevant now. Eli's doing a grand job of mediating this. Keep it up, Eli. It's good. Your viewpoint's the one that matters. That's why I've interjected. It's all that matters.
I fundamentally disagree. I think Eli's opinion is the least important here.
Okay.
Well, you're wrong because I don't have an opinion. I'm asking for clarity on something that Adam said.
Well, everyone just be quiet and let John speak.
Yeah, John.
Right. When Adam said that I agree with him, but then I make his point moot, is to say that Well, yeah, that's true, but the reason it's true is you can't have the first horizontal to begin with. I'm bringing it back to an epistemological
point before you came in and subjected it to a complete right angle to make a new point. Had he finished it? Or were you just jumping in, going, oh, yeah, but I can reduce the argument down to this. I can go another layer lower. You can't even have that. That's what I heard. That's what I think is fundamentally going off. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's not directly at you. We are all guilty of it. But as I'm saying, doing that and reducing the argument down when there is a decent argument on the table that stands perfectly well, yeah, we are not helping the audience. We're not educating the audience. If all we end up doing is it's a flat earth measurement or you can't have miles, they're mine. Yeah?
Therefore, what Brian did to Nathan just earlier, right before that, was wrong.
No, I corrected Nathan on something.
Yeah, bad Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
Bad Brian as well. Bad Brian. Brian, bad John.
Yeah, John, you tried to hijack my point. My initial point was, and everyone knows it, that you can't have horizontal nor vertical on the sphere. And I've stated this throughout this whole conversation, and I was very specific about those orientations not existing, and that being the major problem we have. Now you've come around and trying to tell me you can't even have one horizontal, Brian. Like, that was my initial point. So that means that you don't have a point. What you're looking for is something that you can make into your point. I'm not hearing anything from you that I don't already know.
Are you saying he's committing a fallacy, aka he is nitpicking?
No, objection.
Okay.
Elijah, since you're being the moderator to this and your understanding, was his statement about two horizontal tangent planes, or was it about having one
I never said
horizontal
tangents at all.
Okay. Was it about
what I heard him say when I came in, I heard Divergent Zenith, I heard his point being, in my summary of it, is that you can't have horizontals that aren't horizontal to each other. You can't have that in reality.
Yeah,
right. And I don't disagree with that. I do not.
What I said.
But the initial horizontal.
What I said initially, before you just tried to make it into something I didn't say, which you're constantly doing, was that if I create a tangent to the surface of a sphere, and then I take a step forward and create another tangent to the surface of a sphere, those two tangents will not be parallel to each other. Yet in reality, it doesn't matter what elevation differences between those two straight lines. In reality, those two straight lines will be horizontal and they will be parallel. Right? Meaning that you cannot have horizontal, and horizontal does not exist within that paradigm. And consequently, neither does vertical. Right? That was what my point was. And you jumped on the fact that I initially said, if I move 1 foot forward, right, because I used the term foot, which would be invoking measurement, and you jumped on that jump.
Yeah,
right. Just like
because you were saying
Nathan.
You don't. What part of under your foot is the point? Like it did. It's going exactly how Brian is saying it went. It sounds
right.
Like.
Okay.
Instead of accepting his point, which was fine, you're like, but you can't have a foot on a sphere. But he's already making the point that you can't have any diverging parallels on a sphere, regardless. Like it's so
right. Hold on.
Like you're undermining his point to tell him something he already knows.
Right. And so Nathan, when he was responding to someone just previous to that, and Brian jumped in with the hyperspecificity to say, you didn't say horizontal, but Nathan did say horizontal. It's the same problem. Isn't it?
No, which Adam did say, we all do it.
Yeah.
And we got to be honest about that, because we kind of do.
This is the point where, as a gentleman, you go, yeah, maybe I did. Sorry, Brian. And we all
that's what
move on.
Nathan says.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with apologizing, but I want.
1 second, John. One second, John. I'll give the truth. When I did that, Nathan conceded you're right. I should have used the term horizontal. And when you pointed out, John, that I used the term foot, which was not conducive with the surface of a sphere, I conceded to that. What's your comment?
He did. He did. He did.
Thanks, Eli.
Yes, he did.
Right. And it can come off dickish, can it?
Well,
I would say what comes off dickish is when somebody is not willing to concede and somebody is trying to hijack other people's points and they're trying to pretend they're not. That and treating people down people's backs and telling them it's raining. I would say that's coming off dickish now, John.
What it sounds like is this. It sounds like you'll accept what Adam laid out is happening, Brian, if John will admit he did it to you. And John will admit he did it to you if you can admit you did it to Nathan. That's how. Come on.
No,
guys.
this is not.
Somebody has to be
the. About that, Eli. It's not about that, Eli.
But somebody has to go first, though. In reality, one of you do have to go first.
Eli, I need to interject here because there's a point of differentiation. No, right. So, and this is my point. When. And I feel I'm not having a big go at you, but this is the summary. Yeah, when refracted interjected on Brian, like I said, it threw a curve and changed the tone and completely derailed the point Brian was making. When Brian waited for Nathan to virtually finish and said you need horizontal in that, he was adding the caveat to a good explanation, a word that was missed, hyperspecificity, something we pride ourselves on, right? But as I said, that make that distinction between the two interjections. It's not fair to equate them.
He's got to get his point out. He got his point out. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it wasn't. But when it came to Nathan, it wasn't derailed. When it came to you, it was the whole show.
It wasn't derailed. It was only when he wanted to deny that there is no horizontal on a sphere.
I mean, because he's responding to your derailment, though. What do you want him to not? He just ignore you? Like, what else is he supposed to do? He already conceded. Right. Okay, yeah, I get you. The foot, blah blah blah. He did concede that. So what else do you want him to do? He has to keep responding. He's not going to stop responding to you.
What I want, John,
but it was his point that you were coming into. You were supposed to relinquish it when he conceded that, because he had his own point that he was on. And unless there was something wrong with it fundamentally, you should have let it ride.
I did let it ride. He got to the end of his point. Everybody can reiterate his point. But there is something further to that, and a basics and an epistemology of the understanding that we have. And I did take it to that. No, God,
no, that's not fair. What you just said is not true. But that was the point of the what's going off this afternoon. You didn't let him get to the end, so it's not fair to start your summary with a falsehood. So start again without the false statement that the reason we're all here is me letting him get to the end, because that didn't happen. The point was derailed.
It was.
No, the point was not derailed. He got to the end of the point and it was made moot. He got to the end of the point and it was made moot because I pointed out that the epistemology to make the point, they don't have that.
What's that?
Yeah, which is you admitting that you derailed his point.
1 second.
It's not derailed.
That you said they don't have that. What is that? Define that, please, John.
They don't have that epistemology. That means the convention of understanding or knowledge that they can say zenith, vertical, horizontal. They don't have those things.
But hang on,
to be able to describe.
You stopped me on the word foot. You didn't stop me on those other things because that was my point. They don't have these orientations. They don't have any of this. That was my point. And you stopped me on because I used the word foot. Because I said, if I take a step forward a foot, you stopped me on the use of the word foot because that would invoke a horizontal straight line measurement. That's what you stopped me on.
But that was after you'd already made your point, which your point was not about a foot, was it?
No, it wasn't. And this is funny you're saying that, because my point was about the fact that they don't have the orientations that do exist in reality, making their paradigm completely inane.
Which I never disagreed with.
No, but you did. But you jumped on the point of the foot. As Adam pointed out, what my specificity, me being hyper-specific with Nathan, was adding to Nathan's point. You didn't add to my point, you to derail it.
Yes, I did. Yes,
No,
I
you
did.
didn't. You didn't add to my
pointed out
point.
that
But
the epistemology.
what you said was to undermine me, not to add to the point.
No, I added to the point because I pointed out that the epistemology for this, as Adam calls it, how you derive the units, right? They don't even have that.
Can you add to a point that you make moot because you said you made it moot with what you said? So how is that adding to it? Because with Nathan,
because the knowledge
hold on, let's first talk about if Brian made Nathan's point moot by pointing out the epistemology. Did he do that?
No. Well, no, but I'll explain to you.
So that's the distinction before the explanation, that's the distinction that Adam wants you to address. He doesn't want you to talk about anything else.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that to you. The way in which we communicate as people is to take concepts, right, and apply them to reality, right? And words come out and we understand each other, right?
Yes.
Right. This is fundamental. Now, it does moot everything in the room because they don't have that. They don't have the means in which to do that. I'm not taking away from Brian's point. It's the foundation of Brian's point. It's not taking away from it.
Totally changes Brian's point.
But it is mooting his point. I'm sorry it does that, but it is, I think, a bigger point to make still.
Lovely. So every time you think it is, then any kind of poor form is excusable.
It was his form. I used to do it.
I'm on about your poor form. Well, yeah.
It was his poor form. I used to do it to reflect it back to him.
Doesn't feel like that, mate. And it doesn't feel like you're sensing the room, even that. Yeah, people are politely pointing out your bad behavior, your poor form, but you're not even being a gentlemanly enough to just recognize it, apologize for it, and move on. You want to just keep pretending like I've misconstrued the situation.
Hence why I was going to say it sounds non sequitur that everything you brought up has nothing to do with the fact that Adam said that there's a distinction here between what happened between Brian and Adam and you and Brian. And then you confirmed that there is a distinction, but you're not willing to unpack that.
Yes,
at the very least, touch the surface of it.
There is a distinction in information, but the form is there. Do you understand? The form in which I gave the information out is the same, but the information is not the same.
Jolly good. After 2 hours of live streaming, I think we're going to round out at this point, so this may continue in the after show. We'll find out shortly. But with that, I am going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned. This will be an after show to follow.
Totally fine statement. Nobody has a problem with that.
My thing is this, and I think this is what Adam's trying to say. Like right before the show ended, basically what I told you is your point is non sequitur. And in other words, what you're trying to tell me is your point is sequitur. And what Adam is saying, well, you're not addressing the difference that I just lined out between Nathan's interaction with Brian and your interaction with Brian. I just lined that out. Let's at least address that. You're not addressing that, but you're still telling me that what you're saying is sequitur, because when you say the form is the same, you're basically saying, no, whatever it is that I'm saying, it's totally sequitur to the conversation we're trying to have. And it's not, bro.
Okay. Let me try it again. The way in which Brian jumped in to address Nathan after Nathan had made his statements was to point out horizontal, which could be perceived as anyone watching just being pedantic, right?
Or was I being
Was it
pedantic?
Was it received as pedantic, or was it received gratefully as a necessary clarification, a word that was important because it is a horizontal plane? You can have planes, as Brian pointed out, many orientations. Make sure you point out it's a horizontal plane. Yeah, so when that critique was received, how did Nathan? Did he think, oh, that's just ruined my actual point or strengthened my point?
Well, Nathan actually did say that.
So he strengthened it.
Listen to it.
So it was a gratefully accepted input.
Right.
Validated and validated by the person, who received the input. Oh, thanks for that.
Right.
You helped my point.
And then, and then Brian makes a point about tangency of planes, right? Multiple planes that can't be horizontal. And I go further into the information and point out that the way that they derive these concepts of planes are with respect to a flat Earth to begin with. I'm not taking away from Brian's
But that's
point.
not what you said to me,
I'm showing the
that wasn't your critique. Your critique of me was not that.
But not only I'm sorry, Brian. The reason that even if that's not what you said, which is what Brian is saying, the point is Brian's they're on a ball, and he's saying, look, you don't have these planes that aren't parallel because they're not horizontal, because we have horizontal in reality. You don't have that on a ball. You took it away from that point to point out that the Earth is flat. You can't even step foot on it and say it's a ball. Or maybe the way I just said it makes me kind of agree a little bit with Refracted, but that's not the way it came across. It's not the way it came across, though.
That's exactly what it was, Eli. Exactly what it was.
So in saying that, I mean,
right. So
I saw. Hold on, I saw Nathan open up. But did you have something to say on that?
Hell no.
Who gives a shit? He's been quiet for ages.
He said, hell no.
Two separate points that are just
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, two separate points. Do you understand? One is just a definitive statement. You can't. Not why. Yeah. Brian's is the actual elucidation of it in the real world. You see, you can't match these things up on your ball. They're supposed to be parallel planes. Yeah, they're not on your ball. So then when you take it forward from your supposed real world measurement, after we've let you create your tangent plane, do you understand the mismatch now? The only place to put it together is in hell. Yes? So if you're the neutral, if you're the newbie, which is more likely to convince you? The succinct explanation or just the fundy statement? You can't even have that. baller.
But that wasn't what I did. I didn't just say you can't even have
unless
that.
you go into the
I built it. I went further, and then you all wanted to attack me.
No, you didn't. You said you can't.
Yes, I did. I went to the point source derivative function and how the point source derivative function is incapable of referencing to a ball. All you have is a single point.
Yeah, and
he did do
the conversation.
He did the same. He kind of did do the exact same thing. It just didn't come off that way. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm still listening.
Who are you sorry?
It's not what he said to me.
No, just a second, because I want to give another indictment. Because what I'm careful of when I speak is I don't speak beyond what I know is true and don't make shit up. There's a little bit this afternoon. You should go and listen back to yourself and think what you're supporting. Yeah, you contradicted yourself with point source. Yeah, it's not the standards, dude.
I'm not contradicting myself with point source.
We did. Go and listen back.
You have to break it down for me because I didn't pick up on any contradiction.
Well, just go and play it back.
Definitely go and play it back.
Can you summarize it?
Yeah,
it was physical. It wasn't physical. Yeah, it wasn't physical on the ground when it was Brian, when he was invoking it for Brian. And then when it was up there, it was a physical thing. Yeah?
I was claiming
Nathan, you can go and get that.
I was claiming a point above me and below me at the same time.
You can try and mitigate now.
Was I claiming that?
Like I said.
Was I claiming that?
John, like I said, John, it was a piece of advice from one.
Was I claiming that?
To another. You seem to
was I claiming that
a bit, mate. And in doing so, seem to overspeak a little bit, compromising yourself. Piece of advice. Not something I want to
claim that
you now.
Elijah,
after
did
I've
I claim
given you the
point,
advice,
or did he?
After I've given you the advice,
did you not?
I'm talking, and you constant. You can't. Just take it on the chin, son. Take it on the chin.
For clarity, I think he said just like you challenged Brian with the point under the foot, trying to basically tell him that it isn't a point. When y'all were talking about Zenith, did you or did you not say it was a point above your head and not a line? Right.
Good answer.
All right, I'm going to go. See y'all.
No, because that'd hurt me to my soul. Don't do that.
Hang on a second.
I didn't say nothing wrong that should make you eject yourself from this conversation. I'm asking you what you said.
Hang on a second, Eli. We need to get back to the brass tacks here.
I didn't say
John,
that.
Your critique of me was using the word foot.
I didn't say that, did I?
But people who seem to have gotten to my...
That's what I just asked you, what you said.
Right. John, your critique of me was
their claim.
The use of the
That's
word
what they were claiming to me. That's what they were claiming to me. That was their justification.
Sorry, John. Your critique of me was because I used the word foot. I said, and if I step forward a foot on the surface of a sphere, you could critique me on the use of the word foot.
Mm-hmm.
Just so everyone knows what exactly the critique was. Because, John, you seem to have allowed what the critique was to mutate into something it wasn't, because people are agreeing with you. Because people seem to have forgotten what the actual critique was.
But my point goes further to that, because you can't even have forwards, backwards. Like, those are motions with respect to a plane.
They didn't critique me on any of those things.
That's not what's being put to you, mate. And this is where you're being disingenuous.
No. See, but I bid on that nonsense.
This is where you're being disingenuous now, John, and making an arse.
Because I bid on a non sequitur. That's what happened. I bid on every time.
This is just another piece of friendly advice. This is where you're being disingenuous with all of us and making an arse of yourself. Stop it. It can't get better if you carry on down this path, will it?
I was talking to Elijah. Hold on.
You could ignore me. You could try and ignore me. Like I said, but it's only going to get worse if you carry on being a bit of a dick.
Did I claim?
You're not going to be allowed. Your bad behavior will not be tolerated by me. Certainly.
Right.
Will be held
bad behavior, which is not bad behavior.
So don't miss.
I just
realize. Read the root. I mean, you can keep over talking.
Read the room. The room just turned against you, and now you're trying to use some kind of semantic mind game.
I'm trying to help you. You can't read that. You want to railroad me? That's fine. Carry on. Yourself.
So I guess we're back at my question. So it sounds like you're saying you didn't say, because all right, let me not do the disjointed sentence. It sounds like you didn't say that Zenith was a point above your head. That's what you're saying.
I did not
right
say
or
that.
Wrong. So
I did not say that.
So it's not a point above your head.
No, I said they can't have that point.
Okay, so then what is the contradiction, Adam?
I said, go back and listen to it. I said he contradicts himself in his argument. He presented the two positions. One, that the point source wasn't a point of reality on the ground, and the other point, it was an actual real point when it is your zenith. Just a piece of advice, and notice that you do make shit up a little bit and overstep your boundary knowledges and claim shit, yeah? That you really...
So he says he didn't say it. You say he did. We gotta listen.
Well, let's throw another one out there. The word we had to warn Nathan about stopping using. Nathan?
Or asymptotically?
Asymptotically is a scale measure of increasing scale.
Why do you use that word? Who gave you that word?
That comes from...
it's been floating
I think heliocentrism, where they describe that the plane of reference, Earth will be measured, or the sky will be measured curved until you get to a grander scale where it becomes asymptotically flat. Yeah, that's it.
But how you been using it, Nathan?
The asymptotically flat plane of the universe, I've not been using it as emerging from curve, no.
Right. You take the celestial sphere, you expand that scale out to become asymptotically flat. Do you have a problem with that?
Do you, Nathan?
I haven't got a problem with that.
You expand the curve to make it asymptotically flat. Even though we went through with you what asymptotically flat, you don't have a problem with that.
Well, it is.
Okay.
I don't know why we're using that term at all when it has no relevance whatsoever to our 3D dimensional world.
It's also, especially when we're using it incorrectly, but it's fine.
What's the correct term then? How do you use asymptotically correct? Go ahead and tell me where I'm wrong.
The asymptote is the straight line, if we're talking straight geometry, and it's the expression of the curve where for a very small portion it meets that straight line. That's why you would describe this section of the curve as asymptotically flat, not because you expand the whole curve. The other way to do it is to express the point of intersection of two curves in terms of comparing two functions, both being curved. The only use of the term asymptote, and QE dug this out, is the point where it is the straight line that the curve just meets, and then the functions have an equal ratio of 1:1. But even that in of itself, shout out to Brian, doesn't necessarily mean that the asymptote itself is horizontal. It can be any orientation, an asymptote. Kind of a confusing word. Makes you sound, unless you're making a very separate point, which Nathan wasn't, which was why we said don't use that word like that.
Right, but their point when they use it is to say that the universe is asymptotically flat. And when they talk about the universe, they're talking about the celestial sphere. So you got to give context to the words they use around it. Not just say the word asymptote and give its definition.
So they repurposed the word.
No, it's
basically.
been repurposed over here.
Well, repurposed over here to describe what they mean.
Incorrectly. Repurposed over here incorrectly.
Huh.
So when they use it correctly.
No, have you heard anybody say what you said,
use it.
John? Because that's the thing. I think I've only heard Nathan reference someone else, like when he was talking about asymptotically flat, like not, in any argument. Am I wrong,
Right,
Nathan?
Right. Yeah, it's not in any argument. It's just the ballers in Einsteinian mechanics want to say that the universe is asymptotically flat.
I'm using it incorrectly, so it's an Einsteinian derivative that I haven't grasped when I'm using it. So if I'm describing a protractor view as asymptotically flat for the flat sky, I'm not juxtaposing their use of it through Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian bent spacetime, being the universe approaching flat from being curved, therefore being capable of being described as asymptotically flat. I've been contextually using it with my description of a protractor-based view of the sky as a flat sky. Well, that's not how they use it. It's not how it's contextually utilised. I've just been wrong. So, not had this.
It's also out of line with what. It's also somewhat out of line with what space-time is claimed to be. Special relativity. It's also out of line with that, actually.
Hey guys, I can't go into this one right now. I gotta go, but y'all go on with it. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Later. Be good.
Oh, John.
Good night, John.
Chicken.
Shut up, Neil.
If I had to bet $1,000, I would have put it on that happening right there. But he's fucking. He's funning with you. He loves you. That's how Neil does.
Of course I do. All I was saying is Nathan represents us all. We want him to represent us the proper way.
Well, I'm glad we got all this cleared up. Fortunately, Brian is here and, he figured this all out several weeks ago.
No, the point I would make, and I'm not going to speak for Adam here, because although me and Adam are generally on the same page, and Neil often as well, is that
Brian Adams.
It's not good. Yeah, Brian Adams, exactly. We're not called Brian Adams for nothing. The point is that it ends up becoming a chant sometimes when you're just saying things. You have to be able to show the audience, in the end of the day, why something proves what you're saying. You know what I mean? As opposed to just being buzzwords and chants. Because it ends up with people, as Eli said yesterday, hearing this on the show, then going into Discord, using those same terms, and then not being able to, when they're held to task on how this proves or how what they say means this, that, or the other thing, they're not able to do it. Some people, when people who aren't paying attention, that there's always going to be half book readers. At least give them the good half to read.
Yes.
My issues with refracted is a little bit different. That's more of a personal.
Yeah, you kept on excluding me by the conversation by saying this is something else that you're not aware of, and then obviously that shuts me up.
Yeah, because you want to come in even though you don't have the full facts and start talking as if you do have one fact.
Yeah, just like that.
And I have to stop that.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah. Because there was stuff happened with me and refracted yesterday that where we had an argument, basically.
Yeah, I heard that shit.
I mean, you lot have got it easy. I mean, when I wrote them 30 words down, you don't realise the pressure I've been under with that, of everybody. asking him to prove why horizontal can't be used and vertical, and I've just kept quiet about it.
Well, that's very good of you. You wouldn't want to cause a row.
Well, I'm here to fight. Let's go.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the internal row? Some of the best proofs come out of internal rows.
Yeah, but that's when it's about specific things where we're hashing it out. This is a little bit different.
Not for me. I'm not aware of any direct personal issues. Yeah, I'm just literally commenting on some of the feedback. Yeah, I mean, me and you, Brian, chatted the other night after the show for a bit, and then there was a few people there. There was only one spoke up. I can't remember who it was.
Bushel spoke up.
Bushel. Okay, so this was his feedback. Yeah, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying, which was to critique how the content has diminished in terms of its detail. He said, I've seen some people just supposedly destroyed by being told you're going to hell. And as he said, unless you explain, and he gave this explanation, and we hadn't mentioned this one, He says, unless you give the explanation, it doesn't mean anything to the baller. As much as you laugh, yeah, it doesn't help. So it's not a personal thing for me. It's actually saying, no, this is what the show needs to get a bit back. I know 10th Man could have gone on a bit with his detail, bit too much sometimes, yeah? But at least the detail was there, yeah? And that seems to be, we're assuming this position of smug mode to the point that we're just going to go, you'll need a flat earth for that. You'll need that, yeah? Well, unless we explain why it's not beneficial to the listener.
As long as Brian understands that at the end of this process, I think we'll all be okay.
I think he's getting it on board slowly.
He's slowly getting there.
More detail, Brian, is what you're being told.
More detail. Slow it down.
Back in a second, and then a public place.
Yeah, where he's using 5 words, 25 would be far better.
I always think the Earth curve calculator is a good one to show somebody and just point out the surface level and eye level being parallel with each other, and just have a look at that, and then let's just talk about that, because you don't really see any curvature in that, do you? It's just horizontal, surface level, parallel to eye level. So anybody who's wanting to, that's where you start. That's their Earth curve calculator measurements. So let's start with that, and let's see if we can see any curvature measurement from there to a newbie or somebody who, this is see what they say about that. But a lot of people aren't coming in, are they, to be educated, and a lot of people in the Discord are asking a lot of questions if they're not understanding anything for us to go through it, or for you guys to go through it a bit more clearly and slowly. So people aren't grasping stuff. They need to put their hand up and say, I don't quite understand that. Can you just go through it a bit more in layman's terms for me? I think Nathan does ask sometimes, does everybody understand? If you don't, put your hand up. Say, no, I don't understand. Can you explain it a little bit differently for me, please?
Yeah. And occasionally there's things I don't understand or misinterpret and then reiterate in the wrong way. And I'm just as likely, if not more so, more likely to get called on it, right?
I wasn't calling you out there. The point I never got to actually make. My point was going to be, again, to Refracted. Why did I have to ring Nathan and set up a meeting and go through it and bother to say, whoa there, laddie-o, when you were live on air and he got the word from you? Why is that shit going out there? This is where, yeah, all I care about is standards and making sure the message, yeah? And that's when I'll interject. It's why I've done it today. It's why I did it in the week. When I heard that, I went, whoa, Neddy, yeah? That's all that matters to me, standards. And that if you do hear us, you don't hear us making shit up, using things just because it's a big word in the wrong way. And it's not to indict you, because I didn't do that on air, did I? I went straight to you, straight to the horse's mouth. Well, we got to stop this, or validate why we're using it. I think we spent an hour, didn't we? You know? Yeah, well, so there's no personalities, is there? It wasn't about beating John up directly, but my point to him would have been, well, why aren't you upholding those standards if Nathan's using it incorrectly? It's supposed to be your mate. Don't talk about standards if you clearly demonstrate a lack of them.
Fair enough.
It's also a claim. If you're making any claims and using that term, you're making a claim. If you're using that term, you're making a claim. If you're saying the sky is asymptotically flat, then, or say symptotically flat, then you're making a claim about the sky.
Yeah. Which seems perfectly reasonable when you're describing how it's mathematized into a curve, but perceived as flat. Which is still strictly true. I'll just use those more simple words to describe that very simple concept of measuring angles to the stars.
That would be my point. If you take that curved line as opposed to taking a segment of the curved line, which then matches up a ratio of 1-to-1 with the asymptote, that's what asymptotically flat is at that point on the curve. If you take the whole curve and stretch it out so it is the asymptote, that makes no sense. It's an incorrect use of why you would invoke an asymptote. You get me? It becomes a nonsense.
Yeah.
Unless I say somebody can tell me otherwise.
Indeed.
It's not. Oh yeah, Nick.
I'm just agreeing.
It's not even properly conducive with special relativity. Like, it's not even properly conducive with that.
Sadly, with writing the book, you see, and it literally was that. I'm listening to the show on my way, and I hear that one word. And with the quality and detail in the book, we wouldn't put a word in like that unless, yeah, it had a meaning. It's the first thing you think, oh, maybe I can use it. Yeah. So that's standards, isn't it?
Yes.
Back in a moment.
Speaking of which, when are we doing that again? Is it Monday?
I don't know. Huey said to me, yeah. Basically, he's away all week. Yeah, no go for this week. So I assume Mondays, as usual.
Jolly good.
I tell her, like, he did say, but you better get on and get a load of pre-edited.
That's not really what I meant, but yes, I do remember him saying that.
Go and DQEify shit. Take the capital letters out of the quotes. I'm getting quite efficient at that now.
DQEify?
Yeah, because all of his quotes that we pull have got his way of saying the quote. So there's so many bits with capital letters and in bold. the words are right, but there's shouting in the middle of the quote.
The shouty caps need to come out of the quotes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a bit to do, and we've got a competition for the best horizon picture. John sent me another one to replace Flats's. Where is it?
Hey, what'd you say about me?
Who would you? I said QE sent me a replacement horizon image. Yeah, I'll share it with you.
Oh, okay. I was ready to fight. I came in here to fight.
You should fight. Yours is much more interesting. You took it. You took Nick this. Quote
Yeah, mine is actually taken from me. Oh, that is gorgeous.
Yeah, with copyright written right in the corner. Look.
Well, then you can't use it. So no boo-boo, stick his head in doo-doo.
Sounds like a good legal argument to me. I'm going to go with that.
Good.
This is boring. Get refracted back in here.
Oh,
I just think you like picking on refracted curvature. It's very unfair.
No. What happened was, I'll tell you, I'll give you a backdrop of what happened. I was in with Brian, and I seen refracted's icon come in, so I made sure. I said, what refracted don't understand is, and he thought he busted us talking about him. So, he fell right into it. What are you going to do? But what he didn't understand is what we're explaining. I could see both sides. Yeah, it's as easy as saying Earth is measured flat. But what about the audience? Can't you go just an extra mile?
What earth measure for that, mate?
But then what bothered me was when him and Brian were going at it, he wouldn't concede that he would not answer Brian's question. He just changed it and asked a question of his own. When Brian asked him if gravitas means the same thing in Latin as it does in English, and that's a simple answer of a question. And he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, me and John were having sorry about the background noise, we were having a bit of a thing where he got something incorrect. And I was pointing it out to him. And he tried to say, yeah, prove that. And I asked him a simple question. And rather than get into all the details of it, he just refused to answer the question. Then he said, I had to prove my point, when the point was proven by the question that he refused to answer. And that was that. So I was very unhappy with him, because basically, once again, in my dealings with John, when it comes to the point of him being incorrect and it's time for him to concede, he refuses. He makes things awkward. And that does my head in. Because I deal with enough of that with ballers.
Yeah, especially in Brian, when he's wrong about something, he concedes right away. I can bear witness to that. He did it today.
Yeah, you can't expect that standard from other people, and you don't show it yourself. You have to be able to show that yourself.
Okay, I'm going to round out with that. Another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.